They're going to start work session and then they're going to go into executive session. That's what Joe's going to go see, is if they could go in and use the police library.
If they can't, they'll do it here?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's one at the very end.
Of the regular meeting?
At the end of the meeting, correct. At the end of the business session. So there are two.
Okay. They gonna be a long meeting?
I never know. They can take forever and a day on some things. If I were to look at that agenda, and if I were in a meeting and I was running it, it shouldn't take that long.
Doesn't look like a
Because
long
it's
meeting.
not that much of stuff, but they can always add stuff, or they can talk forever on certain things. So, I never take that on how long.
Okay. All right. Hey, Truman.
I have it there because you were first up with the water hardship thing, or hard is. But I think you were going. Well, you might want to pull it up, I don't know.
Truman, let's go into the little room. It was brief, Sue.
Okay, good.
Are we required to put a notice on the outside?
You are, but you got to open the meeting first. Yeah.
And then go over there.
Correct.
All right. Dave, do you want to just call Dave, talk Dave right now? Okay, so, and you can just talk through this?
Sure, we've got some time. You guys need
Yeah. We'll be there for probably half hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah, I'm emailing Leo right now.
There may be something for you to report after we're done.
Which one?
The executive session.
First or second?
First one. Second
And
one.
I said, I'm not charged.
The first one is over the
But
animal
however,
shelter.
if you ever want to borrow me,
We'll come back in open session.
Yes. Hey Dave, this is Joe. Are you in the middle of something? Do you want to talk to Dave and just talk through the sound issue of, whatever we need to do to have the part of it is the TV remote and the access one you'll control, but then the sound was, I think, an issue. So oh, okay. So you're still, do you need to talk to him while he's here just to clarify what you're doing? And he'll know or not? No? In a week? Okay, all right. Okay, jacked into the existing audio. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. About a week more. They are looking to see how they get you up.
Yeah,
So
they'll-
keep asking me.
Okay. Yeah, they'll need to jack off the DA redistribution of
Yeah,
the firearm.
help decide himself.
Well, I know what he's doing.
Okay. But he said he is.
Yeah.
And then I see him every other week, so I've got it on my to-do list of where we're at on that stuff. But he says it's just a week. Mayor, we can meet in the place for the executive session. Library.
Well, let's just go, I think you decided, I've set up here, we just start out here, I think we're all right.
Okay, well, it's free if you want.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Or available.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
And I think her name sets us up right, gets us posted correctly. And what's her name do that?
What's her name?
Who's-
She has a here to enforce law with. Yes, I have the signs right here.
And what's her name do that?
What's her name?
Who's-
She has a here to enforce law with. Yes,
Whatchamacallit, what's her name?
I have the signs right here.
And what's her name do that?
What's her name?
Who's-
She has a here to enforce law with. Yes,
Whatchamacallit, what's her name?
I have the signs right here.
Who's- Whatchamacallit, what's her name? Who's- Whatchamacallit, what's her name? Hope is good. Whatchamacallit, what's her name?
So don't get anything turned on. We're gonna go basically into an executive session now.
Well, you gotta make a statement before you do that, aren't you?
Oh, just a little one.
Well, you do need to open and do.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? What you just said, who's it make sure? I don't have to hand the box, but you have to talk to me about that. Okay, well, if that's the case, I'm gonna turn these leaves off, so the door will be truly locked. Because otherwise it, you can open it with a lock.
Oh, yeah. So the executive
Because
said,
I was really surprised and disappointed that if someone told me that something like that is a real basic thing. And I would have just assumed that we would have gone through those, these are.
Leo made that for me, because I
Now,
can't reach
there's no
that.
rational explanation in my mind for the three that aren't in there. Based on the criteria about just being municipal cities, certain distance from us and certain.
You're
population.
okay to be in here, but no recording.
So that was my question.
I get that, but, so my question is, from our team, why was those been left off?
This is real property.
Okay, that's an easy one, that's it.
Well, so you're not a
Party to the litigation.
Well, it just wasn't on the list, so that's why I asked.
Yeah. What was it?
We may be in here, one at the end of this session if you want also. But no recording.
That's what got me thinking of, because I had to do something else with Patrick, and I said, what? And my down board said, we're not comparable.
Less than. There's some issue, if they're on the couch and
The blackness, I didn't see that,
they're part of the city.
because just Wilson was, Chapman's
Well,
all
Wilson will contact you. Yeah, just to let you guys know.
Yeah.
We've been approved by the SEC
Oh,
on
you got your thing. Oh, wow.
There's another decision in Portland area that is gonna be, just the outskirts of our thing, so we're gonna have to spend another $5,000 on a payment system. Just to make sure we don't overlap them. But it's probably gonna happen.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
There's your KLYC broadcast on FM 99.1. and it'll blast the entire.
Well, good for you.
Is AM, FM?
99.1, KLYC will be on 99.1.
So you'll be FM then?
We'll be both.
So you'll be both.
Are you 1260 AM and 99.1, the same program content on both channels?
Well, you'll just be using.
Yeah, but the cool thing about this is it gives our coverage in Newberg, much lights it up.
Are you relying someone else's license?
No, this is part of the AM revitalization effort. They're opening up what are called auxiliary or secondary, not first choice channels, so to speak. And they're squeezing AM stations in that need better coverage, and we filed and we got it.
So what's your power limitation over it?
It's not, it's pretty low, it's like 250 watts.
Yeah.
But FM is line of sight.
Yeah.
And so on a shadable amount of 250 watts, we can shoot almost all the way to Dallas and all the way to Salem. Because FM isn't really, the higher up you go, you don't need a lot of wattage.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to see
99.7?
99.1.
99.
Now, what I'm telling you is your interpreters here. The FCC is very, very specific on their communication while we're in an auction, which is kind of what we're in right now. So what I'm telling you is not really. What I just told you. But it's good news, especially for emergency preparedness and so on.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because a 250 watt translator doesn't take a lot of backup power to keep it on the air.
You want to write a note? Right. You got press release or something?
Yeah, we can't do that. Did you see what I said?
Only for part.
Okay. What I just told you is not to broadcast on publication.
Now, if we were to use this, and we needed it, and we made arrangements, and you're here in the valley, how do you, can you transmit to your tower and then your tower out? Is that the way you do it?
Well, emergency broadcast prep is really important to us, so we'll want to be working with you guys.
Yes, very definitely.
So you guys know how you can interface with us.
Okay.
So, it's a big deal. So, yeah.
Okay.
That's why, that's a big reason why it's on there.
Thank you. Necessarily appreciate it.
So you know that there's
And
something coming up
you will be going live when?
on this FM.
Yeah.
It's only gonna cost about $15,000 to $20,000 to put it on the air, which is not a lot of money.
So you're looking at this fall?
So
Before the end of the year.
you have the site slot for that thing? or-
Yep, we have a site, we have an agreement with the landlord. And monthly cost to do it is pretty reasonable. It's not gonna be a very expensive proposition. I was just giving the approval to do it and hoping that there was a secondary channel available, and there was. It didn't compete with somebody else. So we got lucky. We got lucky that there was only one Yamaha County commercial broadcast station that wanted it. And the terrain separates us from Portland enough to make this work.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is that Yamaha County will get an FM and especially nighttime coverage, propagation in Yamaha County will be extremely better. Especially for McMinnville, Yamaha, Carlton, Amity.
I want to say,
And we'll be right above Newberg. Both blasting Newberg. They'll be able to hear us. Yeah, maybe no problem anywhere in Newberg. It's just right up there.
You have plenty of coffee over there, but we
We're
never,
excited.
we just had the tap water, right?
We have tea. We have a English
No,
breakfast tea.
just on the water,
So
just
who
the
does
tap
the
water.
work? It's,
Correct.
No refrigerator, bottled water.
Nobody excited about the same thing.
exactly.
So, we'll want to work with the county, and Newberg, and all the cities, and let them know, because this is a big deal for us, it's mission critical to get all this.
I'm glad you were able to tell us before the crowd got in. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I haven't had a chance, I've been sick for So you have backup cars? Oh, yeah. It don't take much. But my generator is up there. Initially.
Hey.
We already have a backup generator at the AM transmitter site. It's
Present?
we have the Newberg at night because we're not real strong in here. So this will clear enough time and I know it's if you drive around, this is gonna really,
Good evening, how are you?
just fine. Anyway, so for.
We got everything ready?
That was part of our, if we had to go and fight for it, that was part of our. Staff was that we need to better serve Newberg and other areas. Yeah, we need to. But we don't have to come in. Yeah. We wanted that. So you know the old issue. It's, you know, you go up on Cherryhill Mountain and it's a site, way wireless site. You know what that is? Is it pretty close to the highway? You go up in the hill and go out and go on, and Newberg is kind of right here, and we're right here, looking right at it. Okay.
Remember your ball peak?
So, it's up there. But I can go over there at night.
In the transmitter field up there, where we
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of towers up there.
to be in that complex?
Yeah. That's pretty high.
I'd like to run it.
How about Washington County?
Yeah,
Washington County?
He's gonna be arson. Because of what.
You're gonna be directional.
Yeah, he's gonna be spring.
so,
So we'll go a few miles that way.
Get
I
up.
was trying to run like a test.
Because you'll find something
I
else.
was just running it and it
Oh,
flagged.
no.
Keep saying it's time to descale it further. It's telling, no, it's not time to descale further.
So,
It is Newberg's job. It is,
Joe,
that's why I want to test
did
it.
you know that Sean is on his AT over in Korea right now?
I tried to call him today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she told me that.
And the mission that they have, he's in the Jaguar right there, but their mission is not to the senator from the 364.
Yeah, but he can do it.
I'm not too sure what they're, and I don't know that he was positive.
He said the headquarters.
Yes,
Daegu.
that is the 10 ounce cup.
In Daegu?
Daegu, yeah.
Daegu.
Okay.
It's both ways, actually.
Hey, Truman,
Exactly what he's asking.
could you turn on your mic for just a second?
Yeah, pretty much.
Testing for Dave.
He's not with the 8th Army.
You need me to keep talking?
A little bit more.
Okay. 10,
Perfect.
9.
Got it. Thank you.
No, it may be a subsidiary of the 8th Army. But he did not say the 8th Army.
We told me they were reviewing some policy for rules of engagement and other, high level policies.
He's doing that, he's doing that at the apartment. So, it's interesting.
But I don't think he's in Seoul, so it could very well be in Daegu.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's,
Now, that's an interesting one that you brought up. You know the history out of World War II about Japan came in and just decimated all the timber and everything. Decimated things exactly. When I went over to on one of those sister city trips to Newberg, part of our itinerary was to go down to Hiroshima or Hiroshima, but it's part of the city. And we went to the memorial and then to the museum that they set up. And as you walk out of the gardens of the memorial towards the museum, there's an enormous window And in this window is, you know, that big ceremony drums.
Yeah.
You get until you just fascinating to see that.
Because so many lawsuits.
Well, yeah.
And over that.
That was perfect.
So this is, I'm just not done with all the research, but this is about 85%.
No. He said,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah,
no more.
I figured we didn't have to answer it until we got to the.
No. So here's the list of car
For the year.
The first one is issue.
For the year?
Just on
So
TV.
these look like.
Yeah, he's swapping it up.
Well, they don't have any more local.
The next stage.
Okay.
But this, it doesn't matter where it is. These are 25.
Oh,
You find that,
Is it?
just like we think about Jeff.
Yeah.
I've heard it was.
Then, if you charge $1,
Chris calls it
$250.
that.
If you go to the public safety, you, the options, someone's like, oh my gosh, go 5, and how much would you get? Well, it's about $13. 13 more. Okay, but, now, okay, so you got some line.
Actually, I actually love pickle juice and sauerkraut juice, real sauerkraut. But this is actually just raw.
So that's one way of looking, and the other thing,
Pizza is my favorite. I don't get the noodles. I don't get the extra vegetables.
then the last one is, we
I buy
have
more
now,
portions to take home, and I eat that all week long. It's the only soup I've ever eaten.
but
that-
it was created for one particular
It's
thing.
like I can feel myself. It's very,
And it
it's like
was
inventory,
created to
so,
pay off
and they
the
make it
improvements
from scratch
at
there.
City Hall after the fire. Now we're done.
Oh,
So it's gonna go away, but if we can figure out the equivalent. Then
Yeah,
here,
so-
this is really interesting, and you'll get the other part. It says, I added something for you. Going first,
Those apologize to you, I think they're all about
revenue
these stars or something.
interest
Like,
between
I want to do
property
property
taxes
taxes,
on
because I want
this
to
is
be
where
here forever, because where else am I gonna get my
four
house?
point one or 4.2%.
This P7. P7.
So,
so that's a good.
and then you'll have the other one, which is right now, healthcare.
It's because I didn't
No,
know
those two are double now.
So Leo made this for me.
I'm not saying anything derogatory.
And it says the breakdown, we can do, it. We haven't done it. And we will also, we're offering, we're proposing, along with the
Well, this one, at least I could hook the bathroom and
second,
collar.
the second
Is that what you call a croupier or something?
application.
Leo made it for me, because
What
I
are we
can't
doing
reach the
next
switch
year?
on the door.
Then this one, it says, the department head cuts, well, you know, I, the average, even, I know you say 10%.
Yes, no, I think it's the latter first.
Either way, so this is a pretty lean budget.
If I may be so bold.
The biggest thing is,
I noticed Doug's sitting.
Tonight, I moved down a little bit.
no, we're buying some, yeah, and we just, we'll sell.
You know, I did fall off the turnip truck yesterday.
Yeah, there's gonna be some, and then.
That's
we just
major
had a daily
possibility.
report. I was reading on that, a dollar amount for that. And the other one, it's about 1/3 a month. So, figure that, if you take 35, if they don't, that's another 70,000, you're trying to close at 1.3 million, yeah, it's nothing, but it's there. And then with the police staffing I'm getting for you here are the cities. So, and you can just kind of look at what the population, we're comparable to the other cities. So Newberg is 24%, so we're about 80,000 just for our police. So you look at, this is that's what I have to look at. But when you look at the, this we got 42, we've got 35, so they're a little bit more. Vinville is 37, we have 35, and with ours, we're about 10%. 3,000 below. then
You're in luck.
what we're going to do, you know, they only have 20 and they have to say, so you can see.
What's it for?
Then these were my scratches, I have trout tails, which I thought they're now on account. Give wizard discussion.
And that's for.
Early discussion has never been revoked. Never. And there have been 2 times where it was
No,
brought.
Sports Illustrated curse.
We're not.
I'm familiar with that. People get on the cover of Sports Illustrated
And
and
the
they're
county also was brought.
get injured and lose the
We're not putting it on the ballot. They want to do it.
championship. We have a similar.
We're doing it.
It's a podium year award. It's better. Story.
Kiss of death.
Well,
What we do.
most of them get a better job. Some of them, they're not getting mistakenly done. And they got fireworks.
I was worried about the business.
No, that's finishing.
This is a local.
No, that's not the word.
So Ron, who won last
We
year, got
answered,
better.
your answer is there, that's fine. And his is
Corey's
done,
still here. She's actually elected.
Matthew asked some, easier questions for us. So we'll give one year after the hardest. You can, sure, and I'll send it to your email.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, Mike.
I don't know. Yeah.
Where do you want? Matt?
It's on training. Her issue, because
Doug can go away from that, except that he negotiated the animal, he got issues of, additional land regulations, so he's probably has to do. You got all the folks. Sue doesn't need to stay.
Hi. How you doing?
Take it back.
We're spending a lot of time together this week.
But you got all that we need.
My wife almost said you made a sympathy card for something, so we're trying together this week.
Hello, sir. How do you?
Well, thank you for this. That may not be a good time to Those are the kind of things you write sitcoms.
Yeah.
And careful, right, he had,
Good evening. We're going to go ahead and convene the Newberg City Council work session for April 16, 2018. I need a roll call, please.
Mr. Mayor, all present, duly noted.
Thank you. Anything on the consent calendar? Anything on any of the items on the business agenda that you need any information or need to talk about? Anything for council business? Nothing for council business that you remember now. All right. Then with that, I will ask, are there any questions that you have for Mr. Zook on the February 2018 fund financial statements? None appearing, then we will prepare to go into executive session pursuant to ORS 192-660 sub 2 sub E pertaining to real property transactions. And we will have, I think the attendance right now is correct. I will ask that the media turn off the recorder and the camera. Do I have an acknowledgement of that?
Yes.
Thank you. We will now be going into executive session. The door is being posted for us. The City Council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192-660 sub 2 sub E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions. No decisions will be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, the council will return to open session and welcome any of the audience back into the room. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session held under subsection 2E. Other members of the audience have been asked to leave and have. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberation or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. The room is cleared. Those present for this executive session are Councilors Johnson, Murray, Corey, McKinney, Bacon, Essen, the Mayor, City Manager, the City Attorney, Community Development Director, and Inter Finance Director. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the City Attorney for briefing us on this executive session. Mr. Hand?
Mayor, Council. So, in front of you is the staple packet step 4. And I'm going to go through that very quickly because at noon today we got an offer for it, so I'll cover that. But this is so you can kind of see the logic. Truman and I were the ones that have met with the animal shelter, and then I met with Austin. Doug's here because he put together the whole package. And we'll have some challenges. We have some next steps to do with the property if you decide to sell it, and Matt's here to just talk about money if you need that. So basically what you have in the front, which was given to the animal shelter board, and they had an attorney, and that's also why Truman was at all of their presentations. Got the name of Abel, who is from Stoll Reeves. We know him and good people. And then Krista Everly as the chair, Rick Lipinski, we met here, and met Krista. I think he's the vice chair, but he was the most vocal and has been the longest involved, I think. And then in our second of 2 meetings, there was another person who just came this time called Jan Florin. And she becomes very important because of an issue that came up at the last meeting. So in front of you, what you have is the findings of the appraisal and the accounting for the money that has been spent year to date. So when donations were collected for the city's animal shelter to build it, they went into a city account, and the city held on to that money and spent it from there. And that's where it says total money spent on the animal shelter, and it says friends paid, so the friends of the shelter. And the city paid were on different things, including for land. We can go into detail there, but they were the city-related construction costs. Then after the animal shelter was open, there was some additional improvements, primarily HVAC, and the animal shelter folks detailed. First, they gave us a summary, and I kept asking, well, can you give us the details of that? At their first meeting last week, they gave us all the details of their receipts of what they spent. They were all capital-related expenses. So that shows in the second column where Friends paid was the first out of the money that they raised, gave to the city was $509, and then their total expenses that we think are legitimate, $637,000. So if you take the amount that we spent on the construction, none of this on either side is for in-kind services. So there was a lot of donated work done from just people that wanted to see the shelter, open general people, contractors, a few discounts that were given on materials, and then city staff didn't put city staff costs. So Public Works, ushered this thing through. Community Development there's community development fees were paid and system development charges were paid, but not the cost of labor. So we came to a
Question, if I may. In the 365, are the SDCs that we absorbed, is that reflected in that?
No, it's in the Friends paid. The SDCs, the Friends, the money that they collected paid for the SDCs.
We did collect SDCs,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. So we have expenses of $1 million. Okay, we got $1 million to work on, and then we had the appraisal done. And Doug can explain in detail if you want, but basically we tried 3 different ways of valuing the property, and like we saw on the Butler property, there just aren't a lot of comparables out there. There's a lot of interest and activity, we just, we don't have very much industrial land. So the 3 approaches you can see is the cost approach, the sales approach, and the combined. So you can take any of them. We had said, well, the average is $680,000, so we generally agreed to use that number. So then you look at, it cost us $1 million, and it's now only valued $680,000. So we can stay here all day and say, well, why did the cost go up and why did we pay too much? It's just not valued. So Truman had made the argument about, we were partners going into this. And in partners, you would think you share the pain and you share the gain. Like if it was worth, $2 million now and they put in a percentage, what we're showing on there is the percentage contribution in cash that they made. 63% and we did 36%. Or, in this case, share the pain. So if we put in a percentage out of that $1 million, then we think that we should get a percentage out of whatever it is valued. So this was given to them, and I shared it with Austin, because I'd gone to them even before the shelter come in and said, can you be some part of the, helping make this transfer? Because Ken Jr., as was Joanne, were real, animal lovers. Ken's first question when he heard about it being sold is he had told Brett, well, let's just buy it. And Brett said, well, why don't we meet with the animal shelter, get a business plan with them, and try to figure that out. But they've always been supportive of it. Brett told me early on that they were willing to put up to $150,000 into a deal that would be matching on the animal shelter. So Truman took it and said, hey, we're in partnership, so we think this is how much, and we'd like to get $250,000 out of the deal, and we walk away. They had a different version of it and said, if we spent this much money and it's valued at this much, then we want to get $50,000 and be done. And we said, well, Truman actually said, well, I don't know that the council would really go for something where it's that far off. That was after the first meeting a week ago. Then we agreed to come together a week later, said everyone would think about it. There were a couple of questions we need to resolve, like at first blush, we didn't know where the SDCs paid for, and a couple others. We answered their questions, and we were still off. And so we said, well, if we can't come to an agreement, first we're going to take it back to the council. We're not authorized to make a decision like this. That's what the council has to do, and they knew that. And I didn't counter back, over 250, they're 50, and try to get it lower. And, so he said, we're gonna go back to the council. And you know, if we can't come to agreement, we'll honor what the contract says, which means to negotiate in good faith for a new contract. Well, obviously from their side, if you think they were doing it for $1, and we said, well, we probably would not recommend $1 going forward. So at the minimum would be things like they would pay for the utilities and they pay for their insurance and things like that and maintenance. So we would do away with those expenses to the city. But another way of looking at it is an industrial property, much like a commercial. You go, well, about 10% of the value should translate into a lease price. Well, if it's worth $680,000, wow, that's $68,000. That's a lot of money. In 2 years, they would make up what was there. So you go, well, council, they think like, because they've done so much and they're doing a service to the community, maybe you do it at $32,000. Well, still, they go 4 years out and paying the rent, and they would have already paid what the expense was. So he said, we'll bring it back to the council. In the meantime, I told them that the Austins had always indicated to the city that they wanted to try to make this deal happen. My sense is they did not want to go back to the Austins thinking that first the word was officially is that Krista said, we don't want to overpay for a building. Okay, well, the building costs $1 million, valued at $680, there's going to be someone or some group going to be overpaying. So he said, I get that. And said, well, my sense is maybe you don't want to go back to the Austins because you might want some of their donation in the future for whatever your next is. But I said, I want to go back to the Austins. So I went back to Brett, and I told him where it is. I said, we're at 250 and we want to get out. They're at 50,000. And so he says, you want me to call them, right? Yes. So over the weekend, Brett talked to Lipinski, was taken it to the board and said that it's acceptable to them for 200,000. Austins will come in at the start, give 100,000, and then what they would like from us, they'll make up the other 100,000. They agree to 200, but they'd like a note or something, and we indicated we'd be favorable to that. We're talking of 1, 2, 3, 5 year time period for them to give us the money, so they could do it over that period. So you have an off, which they're accepted. They have to go to their board of 200,000. Austin comes up with 100. Animal shelter does the other 100, and we walk away, and then there'd be a note, and you tell the attorney to negotiate a purchase and sale, whatever. He'll tell you what that procedure. But if you like that deal, that's can come. And there's one other thing that was a wrinkle, and this is what was significant when Jan Florin coming. Jan came, and she was looking at stuff, and apparently they hadn't shared the map from the appraisal, which I gave them early on. Everything we had, including the detailed spreadsheet of all of our expenses, they all got a couple of months ago. A couple of months. So Jan looks at it and goes, well, you just have a line drawn around the building, and it's about just short of an acre. But we wanted more land for future expansion. I think it was the dog walking stuff. And of course, I'm new to that. And we went back, and there is and yes, it's true that there was a line drawn around it. And yes, it's true, and it's in your packet, that at some point, all the way back to 86, and this is the estimate or schematic of it, they wanted additional land. When Jan said that, we both said, well, that kind of changes the deal, because the appraisal was done on just the land right underneath it. So I don't have a solution to that one. In addition, in order to split this off so that it could be sold, there's a process that would be involved of surveying, putting some easements in place for the stuff that's there. And I keep forgetting it's approximately
Between $10,000 and $15,000 to do a partition for the property.
So what do we need?
I guess, let me just state a couple things for
Okay.
clarity. One is the conversations we had, Rick was involved, Rick Lipinski was involved from the start. And he still carries frustrations that he has in dealing with the city that date back to 2005, 2006. They had minutes of committee meetings and stuff where it appeared that the city, I wouldn't say promise, they took it as a promise, but kind of, yeah, we think we can do that, kind of thing. By people who didn't have the authority to fully bind the city, but that they took as representations of the city. So we really had some obstacles in the negotiation to try to kind of get by that. I think we were able to point out that if that's part of their issue, is frustration in dealing with the city, and recognizing kind of organization this is, where you have turnover of people and you have turnover of council and management and stuff like that, but that's another reason that be done with the city to buy this building and walk away. So there was that. They were approaching, looking at one side where they put in $637,000 and the building was worth $680, and they even said, Joe, you said at city council meeting that you give us credit for all you put in there, so we only owe you $50,000. We were taking some of their comments that they made about, hey, we're in partnership, we did this in partnership, this was something, we were doing together, and not so much taking the formal position that we truly were in a partnership with them, which would raise all kinds of other issues. But if you're going to look at it from that perspective, then these numbers that Joe put together with the percentages and how either profit or loss gets allocated make sense. And there are two ways of looking at the same problem. Not that one's correct and one's incorrect, but they're just approaching it from different ways. I think the pointing out the issue about if we can't get a sale closed on this, we're going to be sitting back in this room trying to negotiate what the lease is going to be. We're going to be having the same conversations, and you're going to be expressing the same frustrations and how you think the city is ripping you off, and how the city promised free land and promised, this and that and the other thing. And so I think that putting all those kind of things together, plus combining it with Joe's efforts with the Austins, where they didn't have to go ask for money from the Austins, I think got us to a point where this was a deal we could close that gap. So that's really, I think, all I have to add at this point.
One other one, that this was not shared with them, but it's actually published shortly this on your council agenda, is the issue of dog license fees. So the county collects dog licenses. You're gonna be asked to approve an IGA that we will get a portion, like 75%, of the dog license fees that are collected by the county and given back to us. I didn't offer that as any part of the deal. I did suggest to them, and we don't do it very often, but if we pick up an animal, like maybe a dangerous animal or something that would be hit, and we need to kennel it someplace, I told Krista, I don't know if Rick was in there, but he heard enough to say, we need for you to reserve 2 kennel spaces for us as part of this deal, because we need someplace to put an animal. It may only happen once a year, or not even in a year, but we need a kennel space. So she had indicated, yeah, we can figure out how that is. We think, and we don't know, it's an estimate. Matt talked to the county, the sheriff's department, figured maybe we'll get $18,000 a year in dog license fees. And that just goes into the general fund, or probably what makes a lot of sense is that money goes and stays with the police department so that if there are any animals that are hurt, then that money we collect in business license can go to pay a boarding fee. And the McMinnville also is just holding on to their money, and they use homeward pets, and they rent space from them and pay a per day fee, and I want to say it's like $49, I think, an animal a day for the animal. So that's another one. I didn't offer to try to say, oh, well, let's give it to them because they're a shelter or something like that.
The issue I have with that is that the shelter's not open the hours we need them open for to take sprays and to take hurt animals. They're asleep and that kind of stuff.
Well, if it's police, we have a key. That's the way
Well, right, but we could save that money and we could pay the other people that are out there, like Newberg Animal Friends or Homeward Bound or somebody like that, who has a facility here in town who's already doing it anyways. We use the money of people that actually are tracking down lost dogs and cats here in town.
We'll bring the chief back in and we can figure out and offer your recommendation.
I mean,
Murray?
they're gonna get the land around the building, $250, $300. I mean, that property was only assessed at the building that it sits on, after the land that it sits on. So, I think the value's
Mr.
gonna
Mayor, could I speak to that property? So that was kind of an out of left field comment that Jan made the other day. And so I went back and I talked to Doug and we looked at some of the things. And I think as I understand it, if you look at the last page, it's actually different. Doug's file had four different versions. Yeah, 4 different versions of site plans and stuff like that. So it was a little unclear. There wasn't an actual site plan approved, and there was various ideas. But if you look at how this was built, the back part of the building, so it's kind of what's in the red outline, that was not actually constructed. There was the prices ended up being much higher than anybody had money for, so they went back and did some revisions and such. And so the building itself only goes to C, I think. But essentially that solid line that's there by the red squiggly line. And if you look at the aerial picture, you can kind of see. So, yeah, so that's right, there's a fence. So the outdoor dog run, if you look at the aerial picture, which is the 40 foot behind there, is kind of lines up with the part of the building that wasn't actually built. And then a fence was put in. And that fence is essentially where the proposed property line was drawn for the appraisal purposes. So I think, I think Jan was correct, at least in those initial conversations. There was talk about a larger site plan with additional room and building out of the building and stuff like that. That not only surprised us, that surprised her cohorts on the board because we weren't having that conversation. And we pointed out, well, you're talking about buying more land, and the price is definitely going to be higher. So I don't know, Joe, if your conversations talked about which land would be part of that or not. So I think kind of what you guys were saying that, if we're looking at the actual value as well as the praise, and if we're selling that for 200, that's one thing. If they want additional land, then we probably need to talk about that either as an addendum or something, as an add-on to the price.
I just think it's negotiation.
Councilor Murray?
Sorry.
There's other
Would you like to go through the
sorry.
mayor?
No,
Let's-
sorry.
let's-
I didn't see the other lights on,
Thank you. Continue.
That's it.
Councilor McKinney?
Rick Klepinski's been part of this project now for 18 years. The other 2-3 parties in the room with about 10 years of experience are Denise Bacon, myself, and the mayor. I would completely agree with Jan's assessment that this shaded area that you see in this fuzzy red line has always been part of the Newberg Friends, Animal Shelter Friends, as being part of the agreement. It was the Animal Shelter Friends Subcommittee and others that reminded them at this particular point in time, we only had enough money to build, to seed, but that there would be future expansion, which the dog shelter would need, so that they don't become landlocked into the future and make all of these efforts for naught to there. So Jan's recollection is completely in sync with my thinking. I was placed on the animal shelter committee right away. That was there. Rick Lipinski has kind of a memory like an elephant when it comes to this project here, and I have yet to find in the conversation that Rick's participated with the city that he wasn't correct in his assumptions, because he's the one with the greatest amount of knowledge that's back there. So I'm not surprised to see that the sight line of A appears, because that's what it had been. But we weren't going to spend $2.4 million as a committee to build this here. We knew that we could build at least to see, but they needed to put in flooring, they needed to put in air conditioning, they needed to put in walls, they needed to put in office. We were going to get it to where they could have a building, but they would be responsible for everything else. And then a provisional permit was issued for them to be able to get into the building there. It would be odd, I think, of us to landlock them when they know that they're going to need future land in the future to be able to do some of these. So a map at the back. This is not strange to me. This is what the project was, all right? Along the way there, we're just fortunate that the Austins have come along and wanted to be a partner here. But that doesn't negate our responsibility to at least continue with some type of spirit of partnership, because that's the way that it was always left out there. We didn't give them an option to bank their own money. We took that option away from them. There was lots of things that they suffered at the hands of the city and the councils that back there. But my last comment would be this, is that here we are, we're at a point in time where it's going to be important for us to remember you have a commitment to past promises made by previous councils, so that when we speak as a council, we speak with authority backwards and forwards. That's how the gas station ended up being on the west side of Fred Meyer, because that was a stipulation that the council made. If you want to build it on the west, we'll do that. And then when they came back, they reminded us of that promise. And that's just one example of us keeping the continuity of our promises backwards and forward. But I think it would be kind of silly of us to landlock them when they now are going to have the opportunity to sell maybe here at what they want to do. It's unfortunate that we weren't mindful of the fact is that the property line has to be more than what the building occupies there, because there's setbacks and there's easements and there's other things that other projects would have had to work in. I'm completely comfortable with the fact is that if you want to talk to the person that has the greatest knowledge about this, you want to bring Rick Lipinski into the room. He's been doing this for 18 years. That's more than the combined leadership of some of the council.
Respond to that. So the line that's drawn on what's your second page, which is a portion from the appraisal itself, that does show that that all the setback requirements would be met. So we're not cutting corners or doing anything with that.
So the appraisal includes
Yeah.
those borders,
Yeah.
with the exception of your red shaded area, that expansion area.
Right, but also one other thing to kind of keep in mind is if you look at the, again, this was one of some conceptual plans about where things were going. And that, it showed a parking lot in front of the building, which was not built. And so there's some ability to expand at the back of the building. Do you remember what the setback was?
The industrial portion of the building, they would have roughly a 10-foot setback to landscaping and to parking. To a building could be 20 feet away from Sandals Road, so there is land available on the east side of the site for actual building expansion, and the parking to go on the south side of the site. So in those different iterations of the plans that were identified, and only the first phase got built, is that there is room for expansion in the area that is an acre. It's just that expansion area is to the east instead of to the west.
I can remember conversations with Russ Thomas in the room that portion in that red clouded area back there was going to be built out. They were going to repair city trucks back there in that particular area. There too, so that it would be built out, and if there was ever a need for further expansion, there would there'd be floor walls, roof, that type of thing. That's another one of these that's there. I can't tell you how many plants the animal shelter committee had to look at as we went through this process. But I think it's just keeping our promise back to the fundamentals and in keeping with a level of partnership that honors what wasn't just merely a perceived partnership between the city and the animal shelter, but short of an actual agreement that was drawn up, there were demands that we asked of them that they were not shy about. We kind of laid more than one brick on their load as we went through these. What'd you call them?
Yeah, there's different conceptual plans that were brought forward that when we pull the land use file, there's no date stamps on any of this stuff. There's nothing in the staff report that defines a specific area. It defined originally the 19-acre lot that the city purchased from Baker Rock that this building was going to go on.
Part of my follow-on. Part of my follow-on is that out of this 19 acres, nearly 20 acres or whatever, there was this acre made available to the animal shelter friends that was there. So, but how it ever ended up delineating itself out, that's one thing. They still ended up with the necessary parking spaces that they needed to make that their commitment to the city and make that happen.
Mr. Corey, then the city manager, then Councilman Murray.
First of all, I take exception to the fact that we're trying to landlock the animal friends. That's not true. And on the conceptual plan here, if they wanted the extra land, that is over and above what the appraisal was again. So we're back to kind of what Councilor Murray was referring to in the fact that they're going to have to pay for that land if they want that land. If there may have been talk in the past about, maybe they'll take the land, maybe they didn't, but the point is they didn't take the land, they don't have the land. And this thing about adding on to the building with city trucks parked there and stuff has no bearing on the appraisal again and what we're trying to do with animal friends at this point. So what their choices are, in my opinion, If we decide that we wanted to take the 200K, then they get to build it just as it is, just as it sits, the 200K. If they decide that they want the option of having the extra land, then we're gonna have to add extra, like Councilman Murray was saying. That's the only reasonable way to deal with this. The other option they have, of course, and we've mentioned it, is a triple net lease, which is gonna cost them a lot of money per year, and they still haven't bought the property. So it's really in their court to figure it out, and their negotiations have to be taking place still. We're sitting on a piece of property, and we should be able to get our 250K out of it, in my mind. And I think, like we were talking about before, a partnership, that's the way it works. We take a loss, they take a loss, and life goes on. So that's where I'm at on this whole process.
We're gonna have to hold off till we get everybody in one cycle here, Councilman Murray. You said you left something out?
From the proceeds of this, we need to pay $83,000 still remaining in debt to the water fund.
Councilor Bacon?
So, just wanna, when we went into the partnership with them, we still had animal control. So that building was gonna be used to house our animal control and their shelter. So that was part of it. So we had some gain at that point. Yes, they took it over when we gave up animal control, but they're no longer doing city service. So that kind of went there. They also designed the Taj Mahal of animal shelters, and we had to talk them down to the pole barn that still cost $1 million. So partnership, yes, but things changed, and there was never, as far as we can tell, any formal agreement ever reached on either side. So this is a problem, and this is why we're here, because, and we're never gonna let that happen again, ever, right? Again. But I think, there was bad faith on both sides. There's bad feelings on both sides. They were not good partners, we were not good partners. We gave them the truck, right? We gave up the animal control. We gave them the truck. Well, they wanted the new truck that the police department had bought for animal control, our animal control. Instead, they gave them the old truck that the police used to pick up bicycles. And that made them mad. But they weren't doing animal control. So there was a lot of bad feelings, and it was never a good partnership. Ever. That was my memory of it. Ever a good partnership. And I even checked back with Terry, and Terry said it was a nightmare from day one. So here we are still.
But to Councilor McKinney's point, which something I do agree with, is that they do need the space for expansion. Being trapped in that little building, especially in the winter months, they probably need a dog run. They probably needed maybe it's sad when I have to take my dogs to PetSmart. It's sad when I can't get my dogs up at the kennel on top of the hill to drop them off in a concrete jungle where they do get walked. But this negotiation, this comes down to business. It's business. Can't let your personal feelings get in the way. 200K is our low. That's our low bottom line. But we also need to sell to them that they do need the extra land. So we can negotiate that. We just need to come up with a number for that.
Do you not think that?
Your mic, please.
Sorry. Do you not think that space over there to the east part is enough for what they want to do?
I do. I do think that's
well.
It's
already in.
But that's not for the 200. It's just the building.
So the $1 million line.
Oh, that's the whole
thing. So in your packet, there is a black line. So if you look at the aerial photo, there's a black line that meets setback requirements. It comes to about 0.96 acres, so just a little less than an acre of land. There's expansion capabilities of the existing building to the east of a similar size to these different concepts that have been floating around for them to do. they could add additional parking to the south of that west building addition in the future that still leaves their outdoor dog run area on the west side. Theoretically, if they wanted to increase that, they can move their fence further to the south down towards that driveway and expand that outdoor dog run area.
Clarification, if I may.
Yes.
The red line, what is the significance of the red line here?
The red line that runs east-west is the sanitary sewer line. So the properties that are to the east of Sandoz Road used to have a lift station. That force main then went to the north and went up to Industrial Parkway. With construction of the bypass, that ODOT removed that force main pipe, took out the lift station, and put in a gravity line from Sandoz Road and went over and connected to the existing sanitary sewer line that was on the city's property on the wastewater treatment plant.
I think you're giving me too much information.
It's a sewer line. It's a sewer line.
The sewer line. Is there a sewer line now here?
Yes.
Where the red line is?
Yeah.
There's still an operating sewer line?
It serves all of those properties to the east of Sandoz.
And the little diagonal line up to the shelter is?
That is their lateral line.
Lateral line connecting, thank you. But that does not preclude building over it.
You cannot put buildings over the sewer lines. You can put parking lot, you can put landscaping.
You can put a dog run.
Put a dog run over it.
Thank you. Hold on.
So property line on the east, it appears to be, 40 feet from the edge of the building to that black line?
Roughly.
Right. How many do you need? 3 feet, 4 feet, or whatever, to meet the minimum setback?
Industrial buildings can go to a zero property line.
A zero?
Yes. The purpose of identifying the property line on the north side of the building was to accommodate, there are overhead doors on that side of the building to provide access. So the line could have been right up against the building. When I looked through the land use files, is that I wanted to ensure that there was enough room that they could get equipment, access, trucks, whatever, into those overhead doors.
I don't know.
200K meets the colored photo property lines.
Yes.
Other questions, other comments?
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Mike.
And it's just, if the note is to be carried, is it the city that's carrying the note? Is that the idea? And then, so we're going to charge some percentage rate of interest.
I hadn't recommended that as part of the partnership.
You do or don't?
Yeah.
Well, if we're going to 200K, though, we're already making good enough.
I want out. Yeah.
Well,
you're right.
if that's the only way out, but, yeah.
So when I asked Brett, I said, it was like we were just far off. I knew I was going to ask Brett for help, and then he said, I strong-armed him and said, you need to do this. So, what we get out of it, one part that we get out of this, we don't have maintenance people that are going on there.
Right.
We don't carry them on our insurance rules.
No utility.
They're going to start paying a cut, which isn't a lot, but they'll do that. They'll pay their water and sewer costs and the public safety fee. So.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just follow on that. So we were, when we were negotiating price, we were talking about cash price. But realizing that there's, there's a number of goals that we're trying to meet here in the city. But one of the goals I would suggest is to have them walk away in a position where they can carry on the animal shelter business. And so if that means that we need to take payments over several years so that they don't deplete their operating capital, then and even if we don't charge them interest, there's a real benefit to that versus taking cash from them now, having them out of business in a year or two, and then having everybody in the city.
Councilor Baker?
One, I think we charge ourselves interest, we should charge them the same amount we charge ourselves. And the other thing is that their business model's not the greatest, so what happens if they don't pay? Do we just put up with it again?
Well, certainly we could retain the security interest in the building to secure the paper. I mean, assuming they'll agree with that.
We're aware they have $100,000.
Your mic, please.
We're aware they have $100,000 in the bank.
I have a question of Councilor Murray. You mentioned something about their hours of operation. Would you articulate that again, please?
The hours of operation that are posted on their website or Facebook page are not what they committed to in the beginning. And that they're not staffing is what they say that they're staffing.
Thank you. Councilor McKay.
With the exception of interest, I think sometimes the charging of interest at this particular level might exacerbate the problem, but we still have $83,000 of public utilities that we need to reimburse there, but that's probably a different question than what we entertain here tonight at that particular point in time. But that was a way that the city can help make this happen, is if we took a loan from the utility funds to help make that happen.
Councilor Rose.
Did you say you had an offer this afternoon? Did you tell us that that's what this is? Okay. And this is something that you thought was good or bad?
It gets us out. And it gets us paid that $83,000, take their first $100,000 there.
Certainly steps.
Councilor Murray.
One last thought. I think we're good. I think everybody can be satisfied with this offer. We can get the money we need out of the building. We can approach it in a way and sell it in a way that we're going to give them this parcel here so they can expand, and we'll help them on the payment terms, but also in the payment terms, as Councilor Bacon said, we have to have some sort of thing in there with the TNCs that says you default on your payment. You know, we basically have a cancellation schedule. That's kind of what I'm into with my job, but we have to have something in there that protects us from not getting payments or stop things. We want the business to succeed at setting it up this way, but that would be our prudence to do that.
Process, if I may. Clarification. We're not going to make a decision, but we, by consensus, can say we would like to have a public hearing for the sale of this. Is that the process we go through?
Well, yeah, essentially, but I think, you know, one thing you could do is we could come out of executive session and someone could make a motion to proceed with further negotiations as discussed in executive session, that sort of motion. And that way then, you know, we could get the council to actually vote and giving staff direction. So I would suggest that might be a good thing to do. But where we are in the process is we need to check in with you folks to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. If we get that from you tonight, then we need to go back with them and we need to resolve some of these outstanding details, like payment terms and that sort of thing. Then once we have that, essentially a written offer to purchase, then we bring that back before the council in the form of a public hearing. We publish in the paper, people have an opportunity to come and make public comments about that, and then you would either approve or not approve the sale under those negotiated terms. At that point, that would be the formal action to sell the property.
Okay, we are in a work session, so we're not gonna make any decision as we come out of this. It would have to be after we get into a business session.
Right, you'd have to
Probably
be
under council business.
Yes.
That being the case, let me ask of the council. I think I hear that the basis of the offer of 200K is amenable. I don't hear any significant resistance to moving with that. The devil is in the details, and that's what would need to be negotiated through the contract. But I think if you can prepare what you were saying as a motion, then we will have a council provide that motion at council business, and we'll move with that. And that is to proceed with negotiations, if that's what I thought I heard you say. Are you comfortable with that approach?
Asking for consensus.
That's all I'm asking for. Does that resolve where we need to be for our city attorney, our city manager, with the discussions you've had with the parties? Is there anything further on this? Then we will close this work session. And we will return to work session. You may, city attorney, you may open the door if you wish, and we'll return to our work session. Is there anything further? Oh, by the way, give these back to Joe, please. We need these materials back. Anything further to come before us? Then we will reconvene somewhere around 7 o'clock. Somewhere around that. Be prepared for the call. City attorney is
Right? Wait a minute, where's their dinner? I thought they were supposed to all be there.
I take care of Did you use the large or the small patches, Scott? Did you use the large patch or the small patch? Which do you like the best? Put a bunch of zeros I tried one again last night, and all it does is ends up in the ball.
That's what happens to me.
On the big one. Yeah. Little ones. How you doing?
Green frosting doesn't count. You used his green beer.
Good evening. Thanks for being here.
It's tomorrow.
I have
I'm nice. Nice to meet you. Thanks for reaching out. Yeah. I was thinking, oh, there's something I want to talk to you before the first meeting. Oh, yeah, we don't need work. When I leave. What? Yeah. I should.
Joe, you get a picture of Laura?
I haven't.
We did.
You check out your house?
It was like raining like crazy.
Oh, man, it just never ended.
It was the fourth highest rain in Seattle. Yeah, 3.5 inches. When it was 12 hours.
Yeah, it's open.
Yeah, we drove through, he said, there he is, he was there. Yeah, no.
They want to stop in and go by.
I will.
I've heard after the weekend, I get lots of plants, farmhouse. It was near zero when I started on it. It's probably way out. That railroad guy got me, I'll send you that, it's a lot of good information, you know, obviously, nobody knows, except for them, been around for so long.
Oh, you bring your chip scanner so you can scan me? Just find out where my chip is? Nothing. Maybe next time. Concrete.
I figured it'd be better.
Other stuff.
Good. No.
So, I'll see you tomorrow.
Did you guys they say it go into the driveway. Okay. Well, at least you're only talking about.
Are you running?
And if you go.
You're not?
Kids used to go back to the room. Yeah.
Counselors, take their seats, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call to order the Newberg City Council session for April 16, 2018. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Mayor, all present duly noted.
Would you rise for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have the city manager's report, please?
Mayor and Council, Joe Cannon, your city manager. This is just go over a couple of the items that were emailed to you earlier in the day, just the activities over the last 2 weeks. The press has also received a copy of the graphic, and our TV and radio station also has a copy of that. Last week was pretty busy again. Started off with attended Future Focus Group, and this is a group made up as part of the vision for Newberg half a dozen years ago. It had the school district, CPRD, PCC, and the city of Dundee, and we come and we share information. One of the biggest things that we do is we talk about each of the elected bodies group, thinking about elections that are coming up, so we try not to compete with each other. So the school district's there, and of course they're in kind of real trying times now, but while they're doing that, they're working on their capital projects, and they are looking to potentially with a bond towards facilities, and that could come up at about the same time when I anticipate bringing you a proposal in May of next year for an election vote. PCC has an item this time, and more than anything, it's about coordinating some economic development. That's a good way for us to stay in contact. We've made a big deal to the county, and please, as you transition with your new county administrator, have somebody show up at this end of the county. So the county commissioners have committed to that. They're now searching for a new administrator, and one of their staff will come up and join us for our future focus meetings. With the mayor and public works staff and some dispatch staff, we had attended and made a presentation at the Newberg Christian Church's Community Emergency Preparedness Fair. And Christy Cook and that group, they really took the work there. They went out and get the funding for us. We were not able, and we didn't participate in the funding. We were there as a presenter and had a table, but it was just it was amazing. 3.5 hours of a presentation by the Red Cross that was just one of the best I've ever seen. And the people there sat in the audience, they were completely engaged for the whole 1.5-hour presentation, and then afterwards went to the different tables. We had information about Code Red there, and also about the water filtration system, so that went very well. That's the second of the community emergency preparedness fairs. We're hoping that another church will step up and have one. I also serve as facilitator for City Club. This is a bi-weekly luncheon that we have on national issues and state issues that affect Newberg at the Cultural Center. Tomorrow at noon, your calendar is free. Augie Gonzalez from Newberg Urgent Care is going to talk about medical changes, both Fox, Oregon Clinic, and Providence. With the city attorney, we met twice with the animal shelter, and some of those folks are here tonight and talked about the potential sale of the animal shelter. Also attended the Chamber of Commerce greeters.
And this was a big deal because it was Leah Griffith showing off the library and the new carpeting with the children's area, but really telling people about a lot of the new programs of outreach and of here, but we have real unusual things like a ukulele and a bubble machine and things that you can actually check out in addition to books from the library to enhance that experience. Also talk about the Battle of Books competition that went on that our librarians are right in the middle of. Dundee's Elementary won statewide, and a couple of the Newberg schools, including Edwards, also made it through the region. So big testament in their commitment to young people and reading. Also, along with the mayor and council president, TBFNR coordinating committee, we are now in that step of getting a draft intergovernmental agreement that will allow us to transition July 1 from the city fire to TBFNR. Of course, the people have already been doing it. Now it's things like agreements about the sale of equipment that we might use the proceeds of that for our help pay for our communications. It's about the disposition of the property. But it's also mechanics, things like a couple of our employees are parking where on what will soon become TBFNR property. Well, how do we work through that? What do we do about permanent records? So we're in that process right now. And so the board heard that, and we just talked about how we go next. And they have agreed to have an annual meeting between council and TBFNR board. If you choose to do that, which we recommend next year. With the mayor, we also attended a community development initially. Later in the meeting, probably your session, you might want to hear from Doug of how this is the start with the consultants from ODOT and with Doug and Cheryl leading that effort for us that we get into waterfront planning and then go the next steps as soon as the property is sold. Well, we're starting that process even without them, even though there's a space at the table for all the discussions for the new owner. We also talked, and this is a little anticipation, that if we look to some kind of a tax effort in next year meaning beginning July 1, seeing about focus groups and what happened in TDFNR, what have happened in other efforts, how much would they cost, what might they look, to go to our community and just ask, what do you want, which services, and how much do you think you would be willing to pay for that. Also discussed, we're starting we have a couple of internship programs right now with Fox, and we're looking to a new one that we're going to start with community engagement and with the Fox. It's their communication, broadcast, and journalism department. It's a small department, but we're going to bring one of those teams on board with us. Then Russ Thomas brought back with us, and I think you'll see this in the news a couple of places, that ODOT is working with OSP, and they've got a strategy about how to relocate some homeless people from underneath some of the freeway overpasses and land that ODOT, well, since we are in that same region with them, ODOT came to us to share a little bit of their timing and what they're planning on doing, and they asked us for information about when someone is homeless and down, what do you tell them? What kind of resources are available? What nonprofit agencies? What are our police telling them when they stop someone for homeless? So this is a precursor to what's happening, in Portland first. We also have been involved in helping Anvil Academy stay in town and find a permanent home. And Austin family we reached out to them, and the Austins have been very gracious, and they're working with Anvil Academy to kind of secure their future. On the trees that came down from Villa Road, we sent them out to be dry, so it's now now it's a year-long process, but now they're being cut, and they will be stored for a year. And at the end of that, we have at least 3 groups of people that are in woodworking and volunteer to maybe do something with those. It might go to the cultural center, it might come here. It could be art pieces, it could be benches, a lot of different things. But now we're in the drying period of that. But we will honor those trees and our kind of our heritage with the oaks in some other way as a tree purpose. Chamber board meeting, employee recognition committee, that's going through the process annually. We recognize our employees for years of service. We have some pretty amazing people that have been working for the city 20 and 30 years. So it's once a year that we recognize them at breakfast, and all council members are invited to that. Send out an email shortly, because we do have the date, so that you can free up your calendar for reservings 8:30 in the morning to like 10 max. Most times it's done by 9:30. Then the lodging tax committee met, and this is Doug shepherds that through, but there is coming shortly to you, and you're all scheduled for a work session with the lodging tax committee to say what next steps are, including a marketing proposal of how to permanently deal, or at least permanently deal with tourism funding, and that will come as a proposal to you soon. Some of the investigations that we've been talking about with the CIS investigator, that was covered over the last 2 weeks. We met with some downtown business owners and concerned about 2nd Street, so every couple of years we revisit downtown parking and try to bring all the stuff where people have left, staff and everything, to collect it all into one place and re-engage. And this is about uses of the park on 2nd Street, about timing of how long do people stay there, 24 hours, 12 hours, 2 hours, where does the trash can go? So we agreed to meet with the business people, we're answering some questions for them. It may or may not come back to the council. The rest of it is typically down meeting with staff. Again, every director, all but 2 of the directors, I meet weekly, 1 bi-weekly. And the last one was met with the Francises, so Camille and Brian at the Cameo. And it's about a volunteer effort to look at renovating the Cameo Theater, and really that whole block. So we've collected some people. We have some legislative support. There's a legislator that said if we bring a proposal to help renovate the Cameo, and this is what we're thinking is similar to the Gem Theater in Athena. That was a $300,000 ask that went through the legislature last time. We could really renovate the inside, the outside, and the streetscape for that. So we're working with a group of people still looking for other volunteers for that. And then budget committee, just a reminder, tomorrow night at 6:30, same place, same station.
Any questions or comments for the city manager, Councilor Johnson?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I have weekly meetings with city recorder, HR director, and assistant. I didn't see the city attorney on there. You guys meet weekly, just out of curiosity?
We do not. We sit right next to each other, but no, we don't have a weekly. Yeah.
Oh, but you guys coordinate.
Yes.
Oh.
Like this evening when we were talking about the whole topic of the animal shelter, that was, and Truman negotiates that because we know so much of the legal part goes through there. Truman is also with the team with Anna and HR on our negotiations. I sit at the other side, just hear what they're doing, and then he leads them. So yes.
Any further questions or comments for the city manager? None appearing, we'll move on to the next item. And I'm going to, this is the appointment of a new member to our budget committee. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in the form of a motion to approve my appointment to the budget committee of Elise Yarnell as a new member. from April 16, 2018 to December 31, 2019.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We'll give that one to Corey.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? I hear nothing, no further discussion. Question's been called for. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. And I believe Elise is with us this evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making yourself available. We appreciate it. Raise your hand so the council knows you are going to see tomorrow night. And thank you again. We appreciate you being here and today have the chance to say hello to you. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to get an idea of what's going on. You're welcome to leave if you wish. But thank you again for your willingness to step forward and fill that vacancy. And we will see you tomorrow evening. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Public comments. This is the next item on the agenda. I have nobody signed up for public comments, so I'm going to open and close that item now. And I move to the consent calendar. Pleasure of the council.
Mayor?
Councilor Bacon.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent calendar as written.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent calendar as presented. Is there any further question? As written, as presented. Is there any further discussion? None appearing. Do I hear a call for the question?
Call for question.
Question's been called for. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. None appearing. The consent calendar is approved. A little bit of homework here. And with that, then we will move to the area of public hearings. And we will be now entering into a administrative hearing. And this administrative hearing is going to be for the purposes of considering a hardship request for water service to tax lot 3324 AD 00600. And with that, I'm going to ask for, are there any abstentions, conflicts of interest on behalf of the council or on behalf? None appearing? Arn, you're going to carry this one?
I am. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Farm Hoffman, city engineer. So, this is a hardship request for water service to tax lot 3324 AD-00600. And Chapter 13, .25 Newberg Municipal Code authorizes the city council to approve hardship connections to the city water system, provided the city criteria that this property is outside the urban zone boundary. And the applicant has prepared written findings relative to the criteria in the municipal code, and those findings are attached. City staff reviewed those and does not concur with their findings, and doesn't believe that they meet the hardship criteria as outlined in Newberg Municipal Code 13.15, specifically 15.110 A and B states no new water user shall be connected to group customer lines, and they will be connected to a group customer line, and that the city shall not serve or supply water to any additional users outside of the city limits, save except then those then in service or ready for service. Additionally, 1315.120A1 states that the new or additional connection can only be used to supply water to an existing structure and will not be used to allow new development. The applicant does say in their materials that the site is vacant, and that they will be adding a new structure. And again, as I noted before, they're proposing to hook up to this line, so we do not believe that meets the eligibility requirement. One thing to note, and I believe it was attached to your information on Friday, was the PowerPoint that we gave this council in 2016, when we talked specifically about connecting group customers to group lines. And in 2016,
questions for staff at this time? None appearing? We have two people that would like to speak to you regarding this. And the first one I'm going to call, and I remind those that want to make a presentation that we would ask that you confine your remarks to a 5-minute period. Come forward to the table, press the little button on the right, give us your name, and then with your presentation. And first I'm going to call on Mr. Dan Demetric. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Dan Demetric. I represent Del Boca Vista and property owners with an interest to make beneficial use of a piece of property that has laid unused for many years now. We are asking for a hardship water connection in an area of town between Newberg and Dundee that is notorious for poor water quality and quantity. It's very hit and miss that area, with water being either very brackish or actually being salty. There is a salt lens out there, and if you're unfortunate enough to hit it, you have no good water to use there. So we're asking your consideration of what we feel are mitigating circumstances in approving a hardship request tonight. As Howard mentioned, the council last discussed outside city water connections back in May of 2016. Including slide was to have that staff was going to acquire more information and develop some policy directions. And today, I'm not aware of any policies that have come before you for consideration. Now, as the code stands, there are 2 eligibility criteria and 3 hardship criteria elements to consider. Our request, the report that I submitted in your packet, clearly indicates and demonstrates that we meet all 3 hardship criteria, and one of the 2 eligibility criteria. The one that we don't specifically meet the letter of is that we plan to construct a new home on the site, where this time it is indeed vacant. Now, we're not proposing a subdivision or asking to extend the main line of the water district so that they can serve more and more properties outside. We're asking you to consider a piece of property that's wholly within the boundaries of the current water district and is not being served. What we are asking is a recognition of the physical reality that there is no other beneficial use to this property. It's far too small to be used for agricultural purposes, and as such, lays unused over time. And so without a water connection, then nothing will ever happen out there. Now, getting this connection does not impose upon the city. The city has plenty of capacity, as was recently shown in the Water Master Plan. And in fact, if you look at the Water Master Plan, the map for this particular water district shows these 2 lots as being considered part of the district. So there must have been some sort of anticipation, perhaps, of future service for these 2 lots. A picture of that map is there on page 8 of my report in the packet. Now, we'll pay our fair share of city SDC's fees to the water district for a connection, and then pay the surcharge of water rates of 50% for being outside of city limits. Our concern now is that the staff has not had the time to develop policy items for your consideration, leaves us in limbo as to what to do next with the land. We ask the council to weigh all of the provisions of the hardship code that you have before you, and request that you grant the hardship for a water connection on the basis of the facts in the report that have been submitted, any public testimony you may have, and declare that your decision tonight does not set a precedent for future decisions on this matter, on future hardship matters. With that, I'll have to answer any questions.
Questions or comments from Mr. Demetric? Councilor McKinney?
Does this parcel of land, does this suffer any repercussions from the location of the bypass?
No, it hasn't.
This says that there's no other water on that property. You would have to have water delivered.
We would have to, the analysis that I did is there's two things to balance, is water and there's the septic drain field. And one of the attachments in my report shows the 100-foot buffer required for a drain field and a future drain field to replace it as required by the county sanitarian. And that buffer, in conjunction with looking at existing adjacent sewer drain fields, encompasses the entire lot. So even if it had a perfect well right in the middle of it, we could not use it because of the wastewater situation.
Mary? And you're gonna pay for all the costs associated with running a line to connect into that grid point?
That's correct.
That's right. I'm aware of a system that doesn't use drain fields, in which you take the water that is treated tertiary treatment center. In fact, I put one on my property in Texas. They require a drain field. Have you looked into that one?
No, I haven't.
Something that that's what you do. Then you actually spray the water on property. How big is this property?
This property, question on me. I have to say way back in the is there? Well, perhaps if I write my own report. So just over half an acre combined between the two adjacent parcels.
Well, there may be some problems with the size of the lot, I'm not sure, but I know that's something they allow in Texas, but I'm not sure they allow in Oregon. But the tertiary system, you put in two concrete tanks, one goes to the other, the third one, it comes out potable water, much like you use a golf course. You just use it as a irrigation purposes, but I'm just wondering if that's not to be considered.
Any other questions or comments for the applicant?
How long a line would you have to put in?
Be about 120 feet to the access to the
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Mark Wilcox, please.
My name is Mark Wilcox, and I'm the owner of the Boca Vista. We've been working with Ben Vermont on purchasing this property from
With whom?
Ben Vermont. He's here with us, he's on the property. Best family, long time work family, has been here. My great grandfather going out to the home, and they had a dairy farm. We've worked with the city or the county on the septic system. Right now, the most efficient septic system drain field allowed in Oregon is called an ATE system. It has shorter drain field lines, the water is treated, and right now my understanding is they're working with the state to be able to use that in the future as irrigation. There's still a lot of improvements to be done, but we have to have a drain field site and a backup site built on the lot, away, 100 feet away from existing wells. So we are doing a state-of-the-art drain the highest, best use for a septic range that we can get right now in the state of Oregon. It's unfortunate that we don't have this hardship stuff in place that, you know, from 2016 when it started, I know everything's busy. But I think if a study was done on what is hardship, this one could actually be a good example of what should be allowed to be hardship. If this isn't approved, this property is just going to be a half-acre lot amongst the subdivision of other lots and houses. It just sits vacant. There's nothing to be done with it. We're not creating new lots. We're not extending main lines. I just think that this site should be approved for hardship. So, any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Roca? Not appearing. Thank you very much, Amy. We have nobody else signed up to speak to us regarding this. Most of the people we spoke to are proponents for it. We have no opponents and no undecided. I do ask, did we receive any written communications?
No, sir, we did not receive any written communications for resolution 2018-3459.
With that, then I'm going to close the testimony portion, and I have a question of staff, if I may, and then, how soon is this property supposed to be developed?
This property is actually outside the urban growth boundary, so as far as the city is concerned, it would never develop within the city limits of Newberg.
Do you have any idea of the timing of the development? Is there something that's going on that needs to be developed right now, or it could be developed in 6 months or 9 months?
There's nothing as far as I'm aware.
Question, Councilman McKinney?
Mr. Bucks, considering the lack of inventory of developable land for residential, if this particular lot was brought into the inventory of buildable lands, is there an advantage to us? Is it annexable in terms of where it's situated and the need for available buildable land?
Councilor Doug Rux, Community Development Director. So this property is outside of our urban growth boundary, so it does not count towards our buildable land inventory. So we have a preliminary draft buildable land inventory from our urban growth boundary expansion. As we talked about, that has to be redone as a technical issue for Division 38. This property is within our study area for our urban growth boundary process. So of course, we're looking at over 10,000 acres of land surrounding Newberg as part of that evaluation process.
Follow on, if I may. Is it in the urban reserve?
No, it is not in an urban reserve.
Councilman McKinney, follow on?
If this particular parcel of land could be put on a hurry up is the wrong term, but I mean, is this piece of land a valuable piece of land to come into possession of, so that it could improve the urban reserve?
Councilor Doug Rux again. I cannot answer that question. We finished phase 1 for the UTB expansion process. We're just starting. We will be starting in May the phase 2 component of that. I mentioned we're going to be looking at over 10,000 acres of land. There's a variety of opportunities. Could be east, could be north, could be west, could be evaluated. So looking at just one particular parcel, have a number of parcels between it and the existing urban growth boundary, it's way too soon to say. It'll be at least 18 months, could be 24 months, maybe even a little longer before we'll have real clarity about what we need for additional residential and employment land.
Can the county develop this parcel of property if we can get water to it?
That is a county question. If it's a law of record and it meets all of the county requirements and health department, they make that decision. We do not. They, on land use actions, they notify us on development actions, but at this point in time, I don't have any recollection of any notice coming to us about a development proposal.
As I understand, we've had other land applications like that in the past and we've denied it. And apparently it's 120 foot that we would have to run the water through city property. Is that correct?
Karen Hawkins, city engineer. The line, it's not city property. He wouldn't be hooking up to a city line. It would be to a separate water district line. We provide water to them. But the way our code reads is that you should not be providing water to anybody else onto those group customer lines. Because the idea was we didn't want to promote development outside the city limits and the urban web boundary. With the illusion, so 2 years ago, we actually did have a resident who requested a hardship who actually has a house and their well was going dry, and we did not take action to approve that hardship back in 2016 because of the discussion that we had at that stage in May. So that's, and then in years past, some have been approved for a variety of reasons, but based on the way the code reads and consultation with the city attorney, staff feels that that it does not meet the eligibility requirements.
Follow on. So what would the council have to do in order to have this be within our rules? What would be action necessary?
And you're asking the city attorney?
Oh, I'm asking the city attorney.
So, city attorney, just a reminder, if you look at the PowerPoint presentation where we did I think a really thorough review of the history of this subject, this is not a new policy. It was 1965 that the city adopted a policy that it would no longer hook up new properties to group customers. So it's a 50-plus-year-old policy that was revisited in 1978, in 1988, and during 1988 they discovered that there was a number of illegal connections. They were trying to get those straightened out, so there was a 6-month kind of amnesty period to get people, get the illegal connections dealt with, but also offer an opportunity to connect to other parcels that were ready for development by that date, by that 1988 date. And then again, it was considered in 1989, and during those council meetings, there was discussion by council members about whether we should be in the business of selling water outside the city, and there were some that advocated for that. But the policy of the city as expressed legislatively was that we would no longer, or that we would continue that policy of not supplying the water. Now, as city engineer mentioned, it appears that there has been hookups since that time, and Newberg there, so we can't really speak to those. But to answer your question, Councilor Essen, you should change the code if you believe the code is not meeting the purposes of the city and of the citizens. You should consider a code amendment and give staff some direction to help prepare that and bring that back before the council.
Dr. Murray. Question to the city attorney, what's the risk to us by supplying water to this lot via the group entity that buys water from the city?
There's no legal risk other than if they don't qualify under the code and council approves something contrary to the code, then the next person comes. Mr. Benici has suggested that you do it and say this doesn't set precedent. I'm not sure that's really possible. So there's that. But the larger policy decision, which is in the land use side of that PowerPoint presentation, is if you have these parcels developed surrounding your city, then it really limits the city's ability to grow. And ultimately, that's the long-term effect.
Further questions, Councilor Bacon?
But doesn't the water district, that fact that there is a water district, require them to annex into the city on that?
I think we would have to look at the agreements when the district is for the city. But I know that the hardship, one of the code provisions to grant a hardship is that they can set annexation by annexation. Whether that was in existence 50 years ago, when perhaps, I don't know how long this water district was in existence, but I believe this is one of the old ones. I don't know, this is historical research.
Further questions for staff at this time? Your summary, please.
Thank you, Council Mayor. Staff recommendation is approval of resolution number 2018-3459-9, the water hardship request, based on the fact that it does not meet the eligibility requirements in the Newberg Community School.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we will go into deliberations. Councilor Edson.
Well, that's a your own policy. Sometimes thinking I have to review it every once in a while. And don't really quite follow the logic. When you want to prevent, since there is a water district there, it would be something that somebody would look up to. I'm just not following the logic completely, and I really don't believe that the logic either that we would not be able to grow if we added on this half acre parcel or whatever it seems illogical. But what I'm hearing is we have to change the code. We're still stuck with not being able to prove this, and that we certainly wouldn't that. And I wouldn't mind changing the code, but that's another issue. That's what I stand in.
Councilor McKinney, Councilor Johnson.
What are the impediments to city growth if the city embarks on selling water to adjacent properties?
Councilor Edson again.
So, whoever wants to.
Right. The issue becomes, and the city attorney was touching on that, is when you have development that occurs, when you're providing, in this case, city water, providing its parcels outside of the urban growth boundary for development to occur, it has the context of making it more difficult to expand your urban growth boundary and then accommodate the densities of development that we have within our code. So if you take the R1 and I target 4.4 dwelling units per acre. So as time goes on, you've got all this development surrounding, theoretically, hypothetically, your community. You need to expand your urban growth boundary. Where do you go? If you go into areas that are highly parcelized with homes and they're already getting some level of services from the city by wheeling water to a water association, and you say, well, this is where we want to put our urban growth boundary expansion, then you have to look at, well, how, is that a paper exercise? Because what is the probability of that area to develop, because it's already got all these homes that are already sitting there, versus land that needs larger parcels. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. When we look at it, because we did the first round build of the land, all the highly parcelized areas disproportionately are to the west of the community between us and Dundee up to Highway 240. Just makes it more challenging to get urban scale development and densities in the future if that's an area that we need to grow into.
Councilor Johnson?
This is an application and resolution that I've been struggling with for the last week, simply because of fairness. I'm really hung up on part of the staff report, the executive summary, the second bullet point, the Newberg Municipal Code 1315-120A1, and the part that says, and will not be used to allow any new development. That's our law. That's our code. And then I think part of the staff report was that we denied someone water whose wells went running dry, and I don't know if they were going to build that property or not. I simply can't remember. But I keep thinking, how would that person feel if we approve this, and they're going to build a house there, and they had a house, and we denied it. And so I'm really struggling with that. You guys know, I'm a guy that tries to follow the rules, and also tries to be fair. And so, for that reason, I'm probably not. I support staff's recommendation. I agree with everything Councilor Essen said. I don't see, and maybe I need to have more meetings with Doug to understand the ramifications of providing water outside of UGB. But, to be honest, the way our urban growth boundary efforts have taken, it's going to be quite a while before this property ever becomes possible to become a city. So, this is one I've struggled with, but I mean, just the snapshot right now is, I think under the rules we have and the decisions we've made in the recent past, for me, it has to go
Right. City Attorney? Sure, Mr. City Attorney. Just to clarify, in 2016, we had two different parcels that were, if not formally requesting a hardship, were at least coming to the city asking about the hardship, which is why the work session in that PowerPoint was prepared in that conversation. One was the one that city engineer described. It was an existing house that had been there for a while, who had a well, who tried, my memory was they tried to actually make that well deeper and were still unsuccessful. So they had gone through some efforts. And I don't think anybody would argue that they weren't in any hardship position. And that was the second one was on Chehalem Drive. They both were on Chehalem Drive. That was up at Chehalem and Columbia area. The other one was down at Chehalem and 240. And there was someone who did want to develop the property and build one home on a parcel that, and there are, which both of these are in the urban growth boundary. And that parcel is designated to be R3 development. So when it annexed the city, it was going to be a higher density, and that was, in the plan would be multi-family housing. So if someone was able to put a larger house on a larger parcel there and have the urbanized services, even if that property annexed into the city, there would not be R3 development. I mean, we would have the same kind of issues that the city's been dealing with time and time again as the city expands into the urban growth boundary. So I just want to be clear, there was two of those applications, or if not, I'm not sure the second one actually became a formal application or it was just conversations. But neither one of those.
Okay, Councilman Murray.
I recall a hardship case where they tried to expand a well deeper. They dug a dry hole and they were prepared to dig another dry hole, and the city laid lime to them, an existing household, so that they could wash their children, cook their meals, take a bath. There's portions of this argument that perplex me as well. Like Councilor Johnson, I think it's important for us to bear in mind is that we kind of have a responsibility for one another to be a good neighbor from time to time. Water is one of the things that we can sell and make money on. There's not very many things that there's not very many commodities that have payoff for us. So, and if we elected to look at the code and pass or whatever, maybe it behooves us to, consider whatever there are. But what can be done? But in terms of hardship, whether it's nothing that's been built yet or anything else, there's something to be said for the city of Newberg that takes care of its neighbors, even though they might not dot every I or cross every T in relationship to what our code is. There's something more to be done by being a good neighbor. I know that we have granted hardship. Water to people because I've been on the council it's been nearly 10 years and I have the same memories of granting these hardships. Although it's not, Dan remembers that, he was city manager. So there's some things here. I don't know how I'll vote on this particular case. I just know that right now, and that was a very good presentation. I looked at it, went through there. But I don't know if it's the policy that I would be interested in endorsing in the future. I think I would like to choose a better policy, become part of problem solving rather than problem making in terms of this year. Doug already has a monumental task anyway of getting that through UGB and URA and everything else. It's not going to change his workload. But maybe we could make the life easier for some individual families that would like to become part of our city or adjacent to our city, or at least with us as a council. We have the ability to annex now to where we didn't have that before. I know there's criteria for that probably too. But it's hard for me to endorse a policy that I'm not quite sure is exactly fair-handed or even-handed along the way there. So I'm probably leaning towards the annexation with granting the hardship here, hoping that it leads us into a further discussion to change the code and make a better policy for the future.
Councilor Murray. So, like Councilor Johnson, I struggled with the note from staff in here about we have a rule and we have a code and we follow it. However, as Councilor Essence stated, I mean this code, just like any code has to be amended. We amend codes in here all the time. Things change. One of the things that you read in the report here is Section D, conditions of hardship. Any exception granted shall be subject to the following conditions. The owner of the property is going to pay for the cost of extending. The owner of the subject property agrees to annex to the city at any such time as annexation is legally possible. water shall be only used for domestic purposes. So I think what this is showing us is that, I don't know, living in Tualatin, growing up in Tualatin, there were friends of mine who lived in the county, and they got access to water from the city, and then the city annexed. And then the properties came in. So it's not impossible. It's gonna happen. It's not that far out. So in fairness, the people who have applied for the hardship permits in the past, I understand. I don't think they were as detail oriented as going through and saying, pointing out to our code saying, it looks like there needs to be some change. There needs to be some updates. Not like we're making a special exception to a builder and community member who is invested in our community, but it's just, I don't know. I think that we need to maybe look at this further. Not that staff has any more things to do, but this is something that we need to consider, I think, because, you know, if I want to buy a piece of property in the county and they have adjacent lots that are hooked up to this Sunny Acres water district, and they're getting water, and there's no water available. If you could dig a well, and the report's there, to where they can pay for their own pump, pay for their own water getting to the house, then that's one thing. If there's nothing there, just a barren lot, why are we going to wait 15, 20 years to expand the UGB to get access to it, then the city water to it? Those people are still going to spend money in our community. They're going to drive on our roads, and they're going to go to our restaurants, and I don't know, they're 97132 people. They're not Newberg, maybe city residents, but I don't know. I'm struggling with this one. Just I think maybe there needs to be an update to code.
Mr. Megan?
Yeah, I struggled with this one too, and in the same thing, where it says no new or additional connections can be used for new development. But I think what, you know, Doug talked about, or one of you talked about it, the other property was going to be R3. So that's why we do it. This one is surrounded by development, except for this one lot. There's no way to get water. Water is an essential need. So the other thing is just leave it. Never develop here. That's like the choice. No water. Don't develop water. We give them, sell them water. And it's not going to annex into the city anytime in any probably my lifetime. So I'm still struggling with myself. I think the code needs to be looked at again, because I think to be a good neighbor, you have to supply water to all neighbors if they need it. I mean, I think we have to call ourselves, you know, even if it is for development. Somebody's going to live there, right? So I struggle.
I'm hearing all of this, and I think I'm like a sponge and taking it all in. I'm struggling with the fact that, what's the hardship? Councilman McKinney has referenced, we've done this a number of times, but these have all been to existing dwellings that have homes and families that were really facing the hardship of not having water to serve them. I see this more as an inconvenience rather than hardship. It's an inconvenience we can't develop because of the way the code, but is there some hardship that I haven't heard about? I'm struggling with the intent of a hardship and forgiving where people have lost the ability to have water. They are adjacent to a line that we could serve water. I'm seeing some different issues in here. But I have a question of the developer. Mr. Kenichi, could you join me for just a moment? Thank you. You have been hearing the discussion, and there is recognition of this not being totally compatible with the current code. What is the timeline that you have that you want to develop this property? Let me say, it's kind of an overhead question. Let me go another way. If this council were to take under advisement an amending of the city code to accommodate this type of thing, is there any great rush that you have to have an answer tonight?
Actually, tonight, I would say no. Of course, our interest is looking to build a home on the site. That opportunity may go away if the issue of the hardship isn't resolved soon.
So the hardship is yours of not being able to build a house. That's not fair.
Well, the hardship isn't to Bell Boca Vista, it's to the property itself. The hardship is its inability to be used for anything other than dirt.
Thank you. Pat, so to speak. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. But you would you be amenable to a delay?
I would certainly be open to having the council continue the discussion and hopefully come to some changes to the code.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilor Murray?
I have a question for staff.
Staff, would you join us, please?
So I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm just thinking as the mayor points out, there's not an existing structure. What about the development that's on Sunnycrest? And there's 6 or 7 1-acre homes. There was an existing home that they subdivided the property. And I believe those homes that are new in the last, since I've lived in this community, 6 years, 6.5 years, I believe they're on that Sunny side or Sunny Acres Water District. I think they're in that water district. And those homes were all built new. Do we know, is that as part of, I guess, I'm sorry, to frame my question is it because there was an existing house and then they subdivided the lots because of the existing home that they were able to go into that water district? You can answer that? Thank you.
Karen Hoffman, city engineer. Councilor, I don't remember. I remember looking at that when we were back researching the May 2016 PowerPoint, but I don't remember the details on how that came about. I would have to go back and look at that.
Councilman McKinney? Does the scenario that Councilor Murray alluded to, is that similar kind of request in relationship to hardship or developing the land so that it can be used or whatever? Are there more similarities than dissimilarities in the nature of this? Because, like I've already indicated to the council, I'm contemplating approving this motion, this request here, because it meets more of our long-term agenda and needs, and even some short-term things here too. Are there similarities between the scenario that Councilor Murray just brought up, those homes back there, and the scenario of this particular half-acre parcel?
Karen Hoffman, city engineer. Councilor, I can't answer that. Again, I don't remember the details of how that development came about and what the nuances were there, so I can't answer if it's similar to this one at all without going back into the details.
Are they being served by separate wells, or are they on a water district? So you don't know?
I don't know.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. The property owners were here and they didn't realize they needed to sign up to talk. I don't know if it's too late.
It may be. There's none of that earlier.
Mr. Councilman, Mr. Cooper and I are president and vice president of Sunny Acres Water District, so any questions that you may have in regards to it, you
would you, you're out of order, ma'am, really. I will bend the rules here. We like to have people sign up that want to speak to us before we get into one of these discussions, so we know who we're talking to. And I will bend the rule. If you will fill out one of the forms, you may come forward. So we will recess while you take care of that. And we'll be in recess for 5 minutes.
Well, I'm looking at the map right here.
You don't want to be talking outside the council, right, or outside the work session.
Newberg, I mean, it also cited this as the old emergency management station, Yamhill County, the city of Newberg, Mitchell, blah, blah, blah. You get some good PR out all that. I don't know if you don't feel it in my head.
Councilors, take your seats, please. Again, I ask the councilors to take their seats, please. There's been a request by one individual. I'm willing to bend the rule to provide additional testimony. We've already closed the public hearing portion of the public testimony. The chair will entertain a motion to reopen the public testimony.
So, Mr. Mayor. Okay, second.
It's been moved, McKinney, seconded by, we having discussions going on behind me going here?
For the audience, Walter, you have to speak your voice on trying to resolve it. Do you want me to stop?
Well, just so I can continue.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded, and we open it back up. Is there any further discussion? All the questions been called for. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 We do that. May I have the form for the testimony? I have, how many people are we getting signed up here? I opened it up for just one person, and then we have 3 people here. I think you're trying to take advantage of the situation. Beverly Vermillion?
Ramon.
Please come forward, 5 minutes, no more. Identify yourself. Turn on the little silver button. I think you're finding I'm a little frustrated with this, but let's try it and see what happens.
Try not to take 5 minutes, but, anyway, yes, I have, in control of this property, and yes, it is, definitely a hardship. I've owned this property since 2002, and at that time, 2004, we tried to get water hookup to that lot, and the city did not allow it then. And I don't know why, that's 14 years ago. Anyway, one of the things that was beneficial was we can utilize a lot of something that we really can't use because it's too small for agriculture, and it's kind of landlocked in there. So basically, that's all I have to say is that it's been tried to get water to it 14 years ago, and it still has not been able to do that. So,
thank you. Any questions? The lady, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Madonna Boucher? Boucher? I was close.
yeah, it's close. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry for not following the rules.
The button on the right, please, and to give us your name. We're recording it.
Okay, my name is Donna Fouché. I'm Vice President of Sunny Acres Water Company. Mr. Cooper is President. We're both present here today. I want to apologize for not following the rules about signing in to speak. We just kind of came in as an add-on. Basically, Sunny Acres Water District has been in business since 1962. I was 10 years old, so you can have a visual aid of how long that's been. So any questions that you might need to ask us about Sunny Acres Water District or things, I've lived on Sunny Acres, or Sunnycrest Road for my whole entire life, which is 65 years. So, I can help with anything that you need to ask us. In regards to hookups and stuff, we have 52 users on the water district that we supply. We've bought water from the city of Newberg for all the years. And I guess basically that's all I have to say. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilor Murray, Councilor Corey.
Are you aware, thank you for coming, are you aware of the property, the stables at Coyote Run off of Sunnycrest? Are they a part of your water district?
Coyote Run? No, they're farther up the road. If you go out Sunnycrest Road and you come to the Y where it goes towards Dundee or on around up Red Hills, up towards Red Hills, it stops right there. Sunny Acres Water District stops. And then Sunny Acres Water District also branches off at as you come around the S curve on Sunnycrest Road. It actually goes down the hill, across the canyon, and up the hill, up to Hurley's Lane, which is on the other side of the West End Bridge. We supply users on that side of Sunny. It's part of our water district too. I'm not sure exactly how many users we have on that side, but there are multiple users over on that side too.
And follow-up, so the area that you were thinking of is not served by you?
Which one are you thinking of?
What do you call the Coyote?
No, that's actually farther up the road. That's not part of Sunny Acres Water District.
Thank you. Councilor Corey?
So to follow on to that, are you aware of any new development, new residences that have been built that you have allowed water to run to from the Sunny Acres water?
No, Well, like he was referring back in 1989, they opened it up for the district for users, any existing users could hook up at that time. Then after that period of time, the city council closed it, and then it wasn't until, I think he said, 2016, they opened it up for 2 hardships. They allowed those. But other than that, in all that time, we have never been allowed to allow anyone else to hook up to our water district.
I have one question. You are amenable to the hookup of this property, though?
Am I what?
It's okay for this property to hook up?
I really don't have any objections, but we do actually have other people on our district that would like also somewhere down the road to be able to hook up other.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any others? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Greg Bratsky?
My name is Greg Rossica, and I too apologize for not knowing what the rules were. I am married to Bev, who spoke a few minutes ago, and it seems to me that sometimes codes don't always serve the best that they could actually serve. Sometimes there's other ideas in mind at the time, and maybe it doesn't work out so good in other circumstances. This parcel of property is surrounded by other homes that are all on the Sunny Acres Water District, and it seems only natural that that one should be able to be hooked up to the same water district. And I don't really see what the problem would be and how it could harm or be non-beneficial to the city of Newberg. And so there's been a lot said, and I guess I don't really have anything more to say. Thank you very much.
Any questions or comments? None, Terry. Thank you very much. I will again close the comment period, and we will continue with our deliberations. Do you have a question? Councilman McKinney?
Jay, I see you guys looking at information on the maps. Does the district that these good folks are part of, does it exceed demand at the present time, or is demand an issue or not an issue as far as the water district over there?
Well, as the city public works director, Jay Harris, as the city goes, we have capacity at the point of service. Whether capacity exists in their system, the private system, I can't answer that.
Thank you, Jay.
Question before you, which was presented by the staff, is a recommendation for the resolution denying the water hardship request by the Boca Vista with that tax. Pleasure of the council.
Mr. Murphy.
Councilman Corey?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution as written and underlining the word denying.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the motion denying the water hardship request by Del Boca Vista. Some further discussion. There being no further discussion,
I myself would like the opportunity to revisit these codes and give the council and future councils
more, a greater ability to look at stuff at a case by case and not just have something where it says, well, this is here, you have to deny it. Because I personally don't like denying people water. Of course, there's no people there right now. But I also, I'm also uncomfortable with having a one-size-fits-all rule, where I think we might be better served by looking at it case by case. So I would like to table it personally.
Motion to table will take precedent over that. Second. It's been seconded to table.
Who was the motion maker? Okay, and the second was?
Second was Murray.
Okay. Are we tabling to a date certain or just tabling?
Make it a motion.
That would depend on how long it would take the staff to be able to bring some code amendments to us.
City manager?
You want code amendments, or do you want another discussion for alternatives?
Code changes?
Well, no sooner than 3 meetings from now, Mayor.
Third meeting in June? Second.
We could do that.
I appreciate that.
We can do that.
So amend it to be for the second meeting in June. Okay.
Mayor satisfied? Motion, second? All right. Motion, the question's been called for tabling this for further discussion with some actions being brought back on the second meeting in June. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Did you have something that you wanted to get in there or not? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Nay. Motion carries. We will now move on to our agenda. The next item is an amendment of new business. And this is a resolution to amend policies and procedures for the Affordable Housing Commission. Doug?
Thank you, Mayor. Doug Rux. I'll be brief. So this is a proposal in front of you. Back in 2012, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund was established in March, and then in April that year, there were policies and procedures that were provided and created and adopted by council by resolution. We've done 3 amendments to those policies and procedures since 2012. The last one, dealing with the membership makeup, was in 2015. Some of you may remember originally started off that the Affordable Housing Commission had 3 members. In 2015, we increased that to 5 members. With the discussions occurring over the course of the last year and a half on affordable housing, and time commitments of some of the members that have been on the commission, they've been discussing increasing that number in the membership again. So they initially were talking about adding maybe one, what they were calling at the time, ex officio member. So they directed staff to come back and prepare something for council to consider adding additional bodies. In conversations we had internally with that, we looked at it and said, well, thanks to the city attorney who enlightened me, educated me, an ex officio was really not the right term to use, but we looked at it as a non-voting member. So instead of just one, we talked about, well, maybe the possibility to have up to 3 additional non-voting members on the Affordable Housing Commission. They would not be necessary, would not count towards a quorum, towards the commission's deliberations and recommendations that they bring forward to the city council. But it would provide 1, 2, maybe up to 3 additional voices to address the issues of affordable housing that are occurring within the community currently. And part of this, you may remember, is the Housing Newberg group brought forward 9 proposals. You directed staff to work on 4 over the next 18 to 24 months. One of those is the construction excise tax. So we're working on 2 of them. The next one's up is the construction excise tax. That may lead to some additional modifications to the policies and procedures as if there's additional revenue that comes in. So kind of things is we're walking up the stairs, getting smarter, getting better, more educated on how we're addressing overall housing affordability in the community, and this is another step in that process. Thank you.
Questions or comments for the staff? You've heard the presentation, you've heard the recommendation. Pleasure of the council.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 2018-3457, amending policies and procedures for administration of the city of Newberg's Affordable Housing Trust Fund and repealing resolution 2016-3306.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second? Johnson? Is there further discussion? If I'm not incorrect, this, other than the changing the composition of the governing board, which is not changing the voting, but just the composition of the board, there are no other changes at this time.
That is correct, Mayor.
Thank you. I will be voting favorably on this one. Is there any, the question's been called for, is there any further discussion? None appearing, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And with that, we move then to a presentation on capital improvements. And this one is going to be handled by, all right, Mr. Brown.
There's money in between.
What?
Somebody forgot something.
Oh, okay, thank you. Well, thank you, City Manager. Are you two decided where you want to go on this? All right, capital improvements. Barn Hoffman. Barn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Karen Hoffman, City Engineer. So tonight I'm here to talk to you about the capital improvement plan. So the capital infrastructure needs within the 5-year CIP, capital improvement plan, are identified through a variety of sources, including master plans, city council goals, operational needs, and regulatory obligations. Engineering works closely with public works, operations and maintenance divisions, and the community development department to complete identified projects on an annual basis. The fiscal year 2018-2019 capital improvement plan implements the planning, design, and construction of capital infrastructure needs of the city by prioritizing projects based on analysis of the master plans and other studies in combination with available funding. The scheduled year projects in the years beyond 2018 and 2019 are not intended to be a spending commitment, but are included to show a proposed plan for the projects. I will note that all of the projects in the capital improvement plan were incorporated into the rates that the Citizen Rate Review Committee recommended and the council adopted at the last meeting. Also wanted to note that the wastewater section of this plan, when you see it next year, will change significantly. You'll be seeing the wastewater master plan at the council for adoption in June, on June 18th. Once that plan is adopted, then we'll be incorporating those projects into this plan. So you'll see a whole new slate of wastewater projects that come through at that stage. So I wanted to give you an update, and that's a little bit hard to read, on projects that are in this fiscal year's budget. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but most of them are underway. A couple have been postponed. We were down a couple of people last year, and there's actually a couple that say they are underway, but they will be actually complete within the next 3 weeks. So and that includes the infiltration projects for this year, the wastewater master plan, again, you'll see that soon. The hypochlorite generator is almost done. Actually, it does still say complete up there. So those are all underway or in the works. So going through projects, stormwater. So this project is actually an existing outfall that we have down on the 800 block of Winooski, and it's basically too far up the hill. So we're going to extend that project or extend that pipe further down the hill to reduce further erosion on that slope. Influent infiltration. So we have $600,000 in fiscal year 18-19. Again, looking to reduce the peak flows to the wastewater treatment plant. And although the two projects completed in the last fiscal year and that are underway now, there's been a noticeable reduction in the I&I in those basins. One thing I'll note is we're working on 5th Street right now from River to Winooski, also getting started on 6th Street. And then we also have a list of another 5 projects that we need to do before we pave next summer. So you'll see our list of paving projects for the pavement maintenance funding, and we want to make sure we get those pipes taken care of before we go out and pave them so we're not having to dig them up later. So we'll be aggressively getting those projects done over the next several months. 5th Street rehabilitation, we talked about this, and we're working towards that. Right now, we actually have a consultant on board, and they're working on the design right now, and so that will be under construction this summer. 6th Street. This is actually the number 2 project in the I&I report that this council saw back in 2015. The number 1 project was completed 2 years ago, so this is the number 2. And this pipe is 70 to 80 years old. I find it fascinating that it has brick and stuff in the manhole. So there you go. But this project will be underway this summer also. Dayton Avenue Lift Station. This is one we've been talking about since I got here 3.5 years ago. And it has overflowed into the creek quite a few times. Where actually its construction is underway as we speak. To get that lift station taken care of. Chehalem Wastewater Extension. So this goes along with somewhat of the discussion we were having earlier. You'll see later on there's also a water extension. So again, the properties along Northeast Chehalem Drive are wanting to develop. There's no existing public wastewater or water line in the area, at least on the south end. So we are working on an extension to bring it over from the Highway 240 pump station across the creek there and then up Chehalem as far as we can go. We're hoping to Columbia Drive for that. And we will be building a water line extension at the same time. The water line will only go to the intersection of Highway 240 and Chehalem just because of the funding availability in the water. Lift station coatings. This is another I&I type of issue. If you see in the kind of the top picture, you'll see water flowing in from groundwater and other sources into the system. So we will be coating 2 lift stations, hopefully this summer, Fernwood and Creekside, to again reduce the amount of I&I. Oxidation ditch rotor replacements. So the rotors are key to the mixing and the aeration in the wastewater process. There's a total of 8. We hadn't actually been replacing them. We had the same rotors since 1987. So the first failure occurred in 2015, so we're working on trying to get all of those replaced. Although we have money in each of the next 7 years, we're hopeful that we can actually buy the parts and do it at a reduced cost. So we're hoping for that, but right now it's still sitting in each year for 1 rotor replacement as we go through. Dehydration unit rebuild. So this burner provides the heat for the drying of sawdust that we use for our compost. And there's been noticeable wear, and so we will go in and rebuild it. So the one on the top is the first time we rebuilt it, well, before we rebuilt it in 2012, and then the picture on the bottom is what it looks like after we're done. So we're hopeful for the same look and when we're done with that piece of PLC study and replacement. So the programmable logic controller, it basically is what runs the treatment plant. So the PLC that we have right now was installed in the late 90s. They are no longer supporting the system. We are relying on third parties to provide us parts when something goes wrong. So we'll be taking next year and doing a study to figure out what the right replacement is, and then it's a couple years out for the actual replacement of the unit. Oops. All right. So Villa Road, it's underway. For those of you who don't drive that regularly, the road is closed. They are actually right now digging out and putting in the detention ponds or the detention facilities through there, and they are currently putting in conduit and those types of things for PGE and Comcast and Frontier. That work will be complete by the end of August, the road closure, and then the final piece is October of 2018. So pavement rehabilitation, I think we talked about this a couple meetings ago. We'll be spending almost $900,000 in fiscal year 18-19. The list of projects that we're doing this summer are up on the screen. Hayes Street from Springbrook to Providence, Hayworth from Villa to Springbrook. That does not include a signal at Hayworth and Elliott. 5th Street, River to Winooski, 4th Street, River to Winooski, Winooski 4th to 7th, Edgewood, Dartmouth, Melody Court, Valerie, and Lewis Court. And the map isn't great up there, but what that is that's the projects over the next 5 years. Each color is a different year. And we will actually be spending, the plan is $1.6 million next year. Again, trying to get some of those pipes taken care of before we go out there and pave.
Councilor Johnson?
I was going to say that for River to 11, and 4 to 7, were the poster children for my very regularly get fixed. And Mr. Mayor, I'll cover this myself.
Crusty Drive, 99W to Springbrook Road. This is an important transportation link in the north portion of the city. And it's actually includes building brand new roads. We do have several partners. We received $740,000 from the state through Business Oregon. And then there will be a certain amount that the developers will be expected to pay, and the city's share is $1.1 million out of our our transportation SDCs. So we're currently working on the IGA with the state to get that funding started and then we'll be hiring consultants from there and also working with those other partners, those developers, to bring their portions in. College Street, bike lanes and sidewalks. So this is an ODOT project that we're participating in. It's from Aldercrest to Foothills. We're extending the sidewalks on the west side and bike lanes on both sides of the street. And again, as we get to the water, you'll see that there's a water line relocation project because we have to lower the water line to provide the facilities here on the street. We are currently working with, we have signed an IGA with ODOT to move forward on the project. We're working with them to bring back to this council an IGA for the right-of-way negotiations. So you'll see that in the next couple of months.
The question I keep getting asked, you don't really need to buy property, at least for the Newberg section of the roadway that we
There will be a certain amount of that. How much, I don't know yet. They're still working on the scope and fee and what that looks like. One of the things, again, this group said was that we did not want our portion of the cost to go to skyrocket. So we're watching that scope pretty closely. And if we start to get to that threshold, we may have to cut the scope back. One of the issues that came up when they did go out and look is that the existing intersection at Foothills, the ADA has to be completely redone there, which there's a cost associated with that. So there's some of those things that we just don't know yet what that's going to look like. We will get as much as we can. Excuse me. North Elliott Road. This road is the main entrance into the high school. There are substandard bike and pedestrian facilities on the road. In fact, there really aren't any. Once you get past the development of Old Mill, there's also no public storm drainage system in Elliott Road, and so we'll be working starting next year on the design, and then the construction will be over the following 2 years after that to construct sidewalks and bike lanes through here and some storm drainage. Water rights review and reconfiguration. So this is something that has to go into our water conservation plan that we will be working on in the next year. We review our existing water rights and reconfigure if necessary. So we have, for each well, we have a certain amount of rights where we're allowed to pull out, and sometimes we don't pull as many out of one well, but we pull more out of another. So we'll be working to get all of those configured correctly with the state. So that's what this project is. West Illinois fire flow. So this area of town has existing 6-inch water lines. This is actually going to be constructed in conjunction with the Chehalem water line and the Chehalem wastewater line. It's in the same area. And the current fire flows in the area don't meet the standards. So we'll be putting in an 8-inch line instead of a 6. And so it'll be all part of that same big project. George Fox fire flow, this is the same issue. There's some lines in this area that are 4-inch and 6-inch, and so we will go in and be replacing those with 8-inch to provide adequate fire flow in that area. So we'll be starting that project this year. This is the one we've talked about, the Chehalem water line extension. The project shows it going all the way up to Columbia Drive, but the funding doesn't exist to go that far, so we'll probably stop it short at the intersection of 240 and Chehalem unless some other grants that we are applying for come through. Seismic resiliency study. This is going to evaluate the seismic hazards at the existing water treatment plant. And also for the system, the transmission lines in case of a seismic event. So the lines themselves, there's things you can do. You could put flexible couplings on them and those types of things so that they stand up. And in most cases, that's where the failures occur in that type of an event, is that the joints break or the couplings fail. And so if you provide for the flexibility, it'll move while the ground's moving, and hopefully we can at least keep the transmission mains up to the reservoirs still functioning. We may lose some of the smaller water lines, but if we keep those mains going, we'll be way far ahead in the case of an earthquake.
Officer Murray, does that include the bridge? The seismic study of the bridge?
We've actually done a couple of different studies on the bridge. I'm not sure if we've done the seismic on the bridge. No. So we'll probably look at that too, but we do have another option in the sense we also have a pipe underneath the river. So we do have that redundancy in that scenario. So decommissioning wells number 1 and 2. Again, as I noted earlier, sometimes we don't use the water rights that we have. These 2 wells have reached their end of life, so we're going to properly decommission them per state standards. This is the College Street water line relocation that we talked about that has to happen ahead of the ODOT project for sidewalks and bike lanes. Along with that, we will be putting in valves in strategic locations. One of the reasons that we had as much flooding in 2014 when the water line was broken is that we didn't know where the valves were, and there were a lack of valves to shut off the water to that location. So we will be, as part of the relocation project, we'll be adding valves in strategic locations so that we can hopefully shut that off quicker. Redundant supply. So one of the things that came out of the wastewater, I've been focused on the wastewater master plan. On the water master plan is the fact that all of our water supply is on the south side of the river. And if something was to happen, that could be challenging. So one of the recommendations was to find another supply option on this side of the Willamette River, mostly for emergency purposes. So we will be looking at providing for 2 MGD, which is our wintertime usage amount. And so we could look at everything from, water rights exploration, property acquisition, another treatment style, surface rights off the Willamette. There's a variety of different things. So this starts that process. We're looking at over the next 5 years, we'll be taking pieces of it and just kind of figuring out what that option may be. One other thing may be looking at an intertie with another system. Maybe that's how we get the redundant supply. There are a lot of options for us to look through and figure that out. So this will start that project. Oops. So the maintenance yard, you've seen this project multiple times. What we're looking at doing next year is actually installing fuel tanks. We've talked about that as part of our emergency preparedness, to have our own fuel on site for our vehicles and equipment and those types of things. So that's what this project will do, is install those tanks at a cost of about $60,000. And that's all I have.
Any questions or comments for Karen?
And you did get in your packet, just really quickly, you've got the full 5-year plan. So, a little light bedtime reading, feel free.
Thank you. Councilor Essen?
I just wanted to compliment the work you've done here. This is a lot of work, and I mean, there's a lot of work coming, and I'm really thrilled to see it happening. And it's one thing to keep voting for more rates and more fees, but when you actually see some results are coming down the road, it makes you feel a little bit better. And I'm sure when a lot of these projects are underway, that the public's going to feel a lot better too.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it very much. Now, Mr. Rux. Stormwater Plan Annual Review.
You want me to review this one? Sure. Go for it.
Doug Rux, Community Development Director, and I do not know who I am.
That's all right. I've had the same concerns occasionally.
So this evening is just an informational report on the Stormwater Master Plan. As we move forward with our infrastructure plans with water, sewer, and storm, Karen will be giving future presentations. We did coordinate on this one, though. Council looked at this actually back in the fall. That's when we incorporated the Stormwater Master Plan into the comprehensive plan. So this is going to be relatively brief because there's not any new information really to provide you. So the 2014 Stormwater Master Plan covers the entire city, goes out to 2025. Typically these plans run for about 10 years and then they have to be updated. The plan was put together, it met administrative rule requirements, and then when we incorporated it into the comprehensive plan, as we have to for our transportation, water, wastewater, and storm plans, it met all of those requirements, and nobody objected. Nobody appealed us to LUBA on that one. The stormwater master plan, there has objectives that are listed on page 133 of your packet. So that's updating storm systems, hydrologic and hydraulic models. We did that. Integrated stormwater capital improvement systems. Evaluate stream channel conditions, because we do have a number of open stream channels. Not all of the stormwater in the city is put in a pipe, and we do have creeks and channels. Complying with state regulations, looking at the stormwater management plan recommendations and activities, implementing priorities and impacts, and develop a master plan document that's fully useful. So those were the objectives of the plan overall. There were 7 particular chapters that were in this plan. I think it's important to note, Carm has just walked through the capital projects in coordination with her. What we're looking at for this particular year in the plan is East Columbia Drive in 2020, 21, 22 is the East Columbia Drive and North Elliott Road in 2019 and 2020. There's only about $40,000 a year that gets generated for this fund, so we have limited financial capacity to go through and do improvements. But we do have other opportunities where developers are coming in and doing development. They've got to do downstream analysis, and they do improvements to the system as well. I think that's all I really have. This one's pretty...
Questions for
Sure.
Mr. Rux on this one? Not appearing? Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. Yes, this one. We have before you a resolution, 2018-3460, which is the resolution reviewing the evaluation of the our municipal judge. And with that, I'm going to ask our council president to carry that one, please.
Hi, everybody. So you're all present at the executive session where we talked to the judge. We gave him a pretty high between between good and excellent, and he didn't ask for a raise, but when we looked at what the other judges were making, he hasn't received a raise in a while. So in here you'll see that we did offer him a 4%, or that we're recommending a 4% raise, and there is money in the budget for that. It's been cleared by our finance department. The only other thing I have, Terry Marr sent me an email, but I just got it, and he couldn't be here tonight. He just wanted to let us all know what a fantastic job he has done. And Terry is also a judge in other places, and he's tried to model his courts after Judge Blake because he's so impressed with how he uses his time, and that he really follows through more than other municipal courts do. He says, the most impressive thing to me is that he's consistent and that his defendants are held responsible and accountable for their actions. This is the area where municipal courts have the most trouble because it takes judges time, but he always wants to follow through. That's all I have unless you have questions.
Well, I'll move adoption of resolution 2018-3460. Been moved and seconded to approve the annual evaluation of the municipal judge completed in March of 2018 and to provide for an increase in compensation. Is there any further discussion?
Call for the question.
There being no further discussion, the question has been called for. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And I believe the city recorder will have the document that you all need to sign on this too.
I don't have it tonight, but I will bring it.
All right, thank you. We will do that. We'll move quickly to council business. It's been earlier alluded to that we might have an update on the new TGM grant report. I think we'll put that off until the next meeting, if we may, Doug, on that. Denise has an item that she wants to bring to us.
Sure. Based on our executive session this afternoon, I'd like to make a motion. I move that we direct staff to continue negotiating with the Newberg Animal Shelter Friends for the purchase of the animal shelter building and the parcel described in the appraisal, in line with the staff presentation in the executive session.
I will second that. Seconded? Scott not beat me. Is there any further discussion? The question has been called for. All in favor of the motion to continue the discussions on the animal shelter as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. None appearing, motion carries. And with that, I am prepared for us to move into an executive session. So we will prepare ourselves for moving into an executive session under ORS 192-6602 sub H, and I will ask the room be cleared.